a couple of minutes. Okay, so as part of that debate, as part of that pushback, is it a matter of that's not the right role of the state government when it comes to homeschooling, or state government, mind your own business and stay out of homeschooling, as you've mentioned, since 1950?
Illinois needs to stop filing all these bills. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. My slogan for the Illinois General Assembly: do less, God bless. Leave our families alone. We do not co-parent with government. We got this. You in Illinois public schools and government, you have your hands full. 1.1 million Illinois school children cannot read at grade level. They're being told to deny their biological sex. They're being groomed in random sexuality clubs, and parents aren't being told. Most of the school day is not committed to teaching these children to read, and we have had enough. President Trump's executive orders are going to restrict federal funding to all of this disgusting wokeism that has riddled every sector. We're going to get it out of public education. So back off, Illinois legislators. Leave these babies alone. They belong to their moms and to their dads. You do not have the permission to get your dirty hands on them. And so we have to fight House Bill 2827. It's a slippery slope. Leave those families alone.
All right. Love that. Okay. So Shannon, assess where the battle is right now. And then obviously we're going to, do the call to action to call everybody again. Where is this bill in the process, and what's the crucial time to get the voices out there heard? Because there may be people, for instance, I grew up in Illinois, and I went to a Christian school when I lived in Illinois up until the time I was in high school, and I finished in public school in Illinois as well. But where is this in the process right now? Because the farther along it gets, obviously, the harder it gets to derail it. So how do you assess the pushback right now?
We're very early, so that's the good news. This was just filed last week, it hasn't even been read in committee yet, and so we're very early on in the process. We're giving it a lot of strong publicity of opposition, which is good. We're naming the sponsors, which is good. All of the emails are going to them as we speak. Calls have already started as of yesterday. So we have a good opportunity to bring awareness and to tell these legislators to stop this and to not proceed with it. But once they start getting readings held in committee is when you're going to really have to pressure people, because that's when they're starting to really lay down a vote, so that once if it were to pass committee, it would then go to the House for a vote, and then to Senate committee, and then to Senate vote. So we're early enough in the process for sure, but people need to evangelize why this is bad. Additionally, this bill is going to require non-public schools to register with the State Board of Education. So they're really coming for every student that is not documented within the Illinois government of public schools. So this is a beast, and we want to stop it, but it's early. And so keep the faith that this can be stopped with the right awareness.
All right. And you've got the talking points, and you've got the resources, kind of a one-stop shop. I was looking at your website yesterday, Shannon. So let's go ahead and give out that information, and we'll direct people right there, because I think that's probably the best clearinghouse to get the equipment, because, a lot of people are, they get nervous about making a phone call or making a complaint, but this is the type of thing they really need to dig into.
It is. And we've made it really easy. awakeil.com/fight. It has a script for you if you do call. If legislators hear from 8 people, just 8 people on one bill, that's a standout. With last year's 4876 bill that we stopped, they were getting flooded with thousands of emails and calls. I mean, this works. This grassroots lobbying does work. So at awakeil.com/fight, there is a form already set up for you. It's one click, and you submit your opposition. That information does not get shared with anyone. It goes directly to the legislators. So please fill it out and tell everyone in Illinois to send their opposition. And you can also call your Illinois representatives and senators that aren't on the bill as sponsors yet and ask that they not sponsor it, certainly if they're Democrats. But then everyone in the state legislature should know that throughout the state, there's incredible support for education freedom and parental rights, and we do not co-parent with government. So send that message, and we have it very easily laid out for you. This is going to be easy to do, but we need all the support possible.
All right. Once again, Awake Illinois is where online again?
awakeil.com/fight.
All right, got some thoughts on that. First of all, check them out at awakeil.com, or let me know. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 941, 991 HD3 and newstalkstl.com. Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
When you've been hurt in an accident, you need a law firm that wins. Onder wins. For over 100 years, Onder Law has been winning for St. Louis. With over $5 billion in negotiated settlements and over $300 million in verdicts, Onder wins. Voted best law firm by STL Today 2 years in a row, Onder wins. Whether it's settlements, verdicts, or awards, Onder wins. If you've been hurt in a car accident, trucking accident, or hurt on the job, Onder Law will get you the money you deserve. At Onder Law, winning is what we do. So when the stakes are high, Onder wins. Call us today for a free consultation. We don't get paid unless we win for you. Dial 314 or 6189 That's 314 or 6189, then all zeros. Or visit us online at onderwins.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
From starter home to stepping stone, Mama Bear makes this journey her own. With rays that shine and care so true, your home alone dreams are coming through.
Hey parents, remember when your cubs took their first steps? Well, now they're ready for their biggest step yet, buying a home. Just like you're there to guide them, Mama Bear Mortgage is here to protect their journey into homeownership. Call me today at 314-775-1026 or visit mamabearmortgage.com.
Missouri NMLS 2557717.
Hello, fans of the paranormal. I'm Frankie, host of the newest show on News Talk STL on a Garage. And we'll be discussing everything paranormal, from ghosts, demons, hauntings, and aliens to skinwalker, Bigfoot, fairies, and the Chupacabra. Every Saturday night between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m., me and Jeremy will discuss mysterious events in St. Louis and surrounding areas, including gateway families and unsolved true crimes. That's right. It's all right here exclusively on News Talk STL from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. every Saturday night.
I really can't
but
stay.
Baby, it's cold outside.
I've got to go away.
But baby, it's cold outside.
This evening is big.
Hi, this is Mark McCloskey. Check out my show, Mark McCloskey on Fire, Sunday afternoon at 5 here on News Talk STL. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Yeah, it's going to be a little weird out there in a little bit. We know it's not going to be as much of a storm as last time, but the incoming winter weather is going to turn out to be something that we've got to adjust to, at least. I think that's a fair way to say it. So here's the bottom line here. Head to work a little early or be ready to deal with some slushy, icy stuff during the drive to work. So basically, Jerome, it's like, don't freak out, but be prepared. It may affect your drive.
That's rational.
Yeah, I think that's the way to look at it. So we'll get into some of those details here in just a minute. By the way, congratulations to all the Paint the Town Red winners. We've already given away all of those gift baskets from all of our sponsors who participated in that. Not going to say who you are. We're keeping you on the DL. You know who you are. You don't have to out yourself. Your significant other can just enjoy all the presents and think that you bought them all for hundreds of dollars. That's okay. We got your back. But thank you to everybody who got involved in that. All right. It is 5:52 right now. Okay. So here's what's going on here. We've got sleet, snow, kind of mushy mix that's going to be moving into the area probably in about 2 to 3 hours is probably where we're looking at. Right around 7:30, we're going to get an update from Matt Chambers at KMOV, our news partners there. So basically, here's where we're at. The farther north you are listening to us, so in the 94.1 area, Bowling Green and that part of the heart of 94.1 area, snow. Expect snow. It could be 3 to 5 inches of snow, maybe even a little bit more. So, but that's what you're going to get is essentially snow. You know what to plan for. The closer we get to the actual St. Louis city and St. Charles County and St. Louis County and Madison County and Alton and all these areas kind of in the middle of the metro area here, look for that mix. of snow and slush and sleet and a little bit of kind of the yucky stuff. So basically, if you washed your car, yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you're gonna need to do it again here. And then the farther south it goes, the more icy kind of it's going to be. But the bulk of the precipitation and accumulation is going to be farther north. So that's what you can expect. Now that could obviously alter as the system kind of heads in, and we'll talk to Matt about that here in about right around 7:30, I think, is when he's going to be able to chat with us here. So don't freak out. I mean, that's one of the things is people sometimes freak out. It's gonna be here. It is what it is. Don't worry about it too much. But do that whole thing where you use common sense, like you said, Jerome, just common sense.
Yeah, I've already seen people that were going to the grocery store and trying to overstock on things just in case. And I think it still sounds like it's that this is not another snowmageddon blizzard sort of craziness. So just take it easy, drive maybe a little bit under the speed limit or a little bit less over the speed limit than you normally would, and we should be fine. Yeah,
the extra time or extra space between you and the cars. That's the thing is that I guess because I'm a Midwesterner and I've grown up in the Midwest, my entire life, I've never understood when people freak out over winter weather.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's been a few times where we've had the snowmageddons. We had one in, what was it, 2011 or something like that? Or 2010? I don't remember what it was, but it was, I was in Columbia and working at, a small radio station there, to the point where the snow literally drifted over our cars. And we had, we had to, the radio station I was at, the Zimmer Radio Group, we had the station, and then we shared a parking lot with a big Marriott hotel. And so one of our sponsors was a local truck dealership, like a Ford truck dealership. And so they loaned us a truck with a snowplow, and it just kept going back and forth and keeping a lane and then driving us back and forth. And so about 5 or 6 of us were left to run all the radio stations. And I was one of them. And so we would, the women had one hotel room there, and then the guys had another. We just slept in shifts and kept it going. And that was a true snowmageddon that you could freak out over, because you knew once the snow came in that you were stuck for like a week. And that's what happened. And then we had the one, a month or 2 ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty big, not as big as the snowmageddon before. But with this one right here, it's a little winter weather. If you're reckless, you could cause yourself some problems, but otherwise, if you use some common sense, you'll be fine.
Yeah. See, growing up so close to Chicago, it's usually March. We would have spring weather coming, and then one big random day of snow. It would stick for a few days, and then it would all melt away again. But that one day, it felt like the world was ending with the way people were driving. It ended up being fine.
Yeah. Okay. So last note here, because we're going to go to the information segment in just a second. Then I'm going to dump some news on you here. How are you holding up, dude? So
I'm fighting the battle.
Jerome's come off the bench because last week at this time, we all started feeling it here, and we started dropping like flies here at the radio station. Jerome's like, I got you. And I think even early on last week, I think we were like, you know what you're in for, right? And because at one point, I think literally 2/3 of our staff were sick, including me. We shut down the building like on Friday. I was talking to somebody yesterday who's going to be on the show, I think this coming Friday. And he goes, you want me to come in the studio? I'm like, nope. He goes, but I always come in the studio. I said, yes, but we're all still trying to get over this. We don't want to make anybody else sick. So you're fighting the good fight, coming in, keeping us up and running, Jerome. I really appreciate that, but you're paying the price for it.
This is my Icarus moment for sure.
Everybody give Jerome props on social media, okay? There he goes. Flex, man, flex.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Bunny Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Bunny Radio 3 times every week yet on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeBunnyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Becoming a police officer is one of the best decisions I ever made. I'm Officer John Van Gordon with the Springfield, Missouri Police Department. Every day, I finish my shift knowing I've been given an opportunity to positively impact someone's life. I'm part of the team ensuring our community is safe and protected, and you can too. If you're mission-minded and dreaming of a career making a difference, visit gospd.com. Training Academy is starting soon.
Brought to you by the Springfield, Missouri Police Department. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. When it comes to the work of DOGE, a panel charged by President Trump with making recommendations for streamlining government and ending wasteful spending, Elon Musk says there's nothing draconian about it. It's common sense. President Trump agrees it's just common sense. Signed an executive order aimed at accelerating the downsizing of the federal workforce.
The new order puts strict limits on hiring, with government agencies only adding one new employee for every 4 who leave. The president also said he wants agencies to plan for large-scale reductions in force, a phrase that's normally used to describe layoffs. Advisor Elon Musk said there are some good people in the federal bureaucracy, but they need to be accountable, he said, and that major government reform is what Americans voted for. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Pennsylvania is back home, freed from a Russian prison under a deal negotiated by President Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff. Vogel says it was a tough time over there, but the folks back home kept him going.
This superorganism of people that came to my support, the love that I was given sustained me for 3.5 years in a prison that had me in hospitals for more than 100 days.
Arrested in 2021 for possessing a small amount of medical marijuana. A snowstorm forced the Senate to postpone yesterday's confirmation vote on National Intelligence Director nominee Tulsi Gabbard. That vote now expected later today. Also later today, we'll get an inflation update. The Labor Department expects the January Consumer Price Index rose 2.9% from a year ago. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures are down 65 points. NASDAQ futures 2 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
And let me talk about Relief Factor and how many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement fights pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
My doctor told me my blood pressure is borderline. I figured I could worry about it or do something about it. So I took control with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula. It works safely and naturally to help maintain healthy blood pressure with a custom blend of garlic, vitamins, and minerals. And it's odor-free. I'm taking charge with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula.
Be
Statement not invited by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Travel conditions changing rapidly through the morning as snow and sleet marches in from the west. Roads could turn slick in a hurry. Be careful out there. Temps steady in the low 30s through the day with that mix of mainly snow and sleet around the St. Louis metro area, totaling about 1 to 3 inches with more possible to the northwest before this shuts down late this afternoon and this evening. Turns colder tonight down to 18, and then Thursday's dry but chilly. 27 for the high tomorrow. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Piccadilly Palace, located in Union, Missouri. The ultimate family fun center is Piccadilly Palace. Call 314-860-6418 or visit piccadillypalace.com.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
Larry Connors here. I'm heading to southern Italy on a tour of the most beautiful coastline in the world, the Amalfi Coast. 11 magical days in luxury with professionals from Conservative Tours. The cost, $54.88. That includes airfare from St. Louis. Call 888-733-9494 or go to conservativetours.com. Let's go to Italy this spring. conservativetours.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
We'll speak with Zach Smith of the Heritage Foundation on all the Trump executive orders. And at 5:20, we'll speak with Larry Behrens of Power the Future.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy?
Gabe Pfeiffer.
There's something serious I have to tell you about the future.
Get up, St. Louis.
Will you knock it off?
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
All right, getting around town might become a little tricky here in just a little bit. We will keep you updated. Also, one judge says no, and then another says yes. Bottom line, St. Louis County voters are going to decide Prop B. It looks like Sam Page is trying to go with the confusion route to protect his power. We'll see whether it works or not. And the Cardinals are back in Jupiter to get ready for the 2025 campaign. Hooray? Question mark? Let's dump some news on you here.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
Yeah, trivia question for you, Jerome.
What's that?
In this offseason, who is the only team in Major League Baseball to not sign a single free agent?
Is that going to be the Cardinals?
That's going to be the Cardinals.
Ooh.
But no, I'm not mad about them apparently getting ready to tank the 2025 season at all. So anyway, I'm fine. All right. Another round of winter weather is moving into the area this morning. Channel 4 telling us to expect a mix of snow and sleet and overall kind of slushy conditions. That's going to start up between 8 and 9 o'clock, according to the latest models. Now, that could change. We're going to talk to Matt Chambers around 7:30 to get the up-to-the-minute forecast on this. The precipitation is expected to last at least until 4 p.m. It could hang around as late as 6. How intense that's going to be throughout the day, I don't know yet. But the bottom line is, Jerome, is that I think it is probably going to affect the latter part of the morning commute.
So if you leave early enough for work, you could potentially miss the entire thing.
Yep, exactly. You'll deal with it on the way home. But then there might be a few closings. It's not going to be as big of a deal as the last one. But it could be anytime you've got a little bit of ice and stuff. But a lot of it depends on how high are those temperatures going to stay. If it stays, at or above freezing, some of it could melt off. They've been pre-treating roads. So I don't think we're going to have as rough of a route, but it is enough that we need to be ready for it. And again, the farther north you are listening to us right now. So if you're in the kind of that heart of the 94.1 listening area, Bowling Green and St. Charles County and some of there, you're going to deal with more snow. than you will with the wintry mix and the ice and things like that. St. Louis metro area, in the city, in the county, you're going to get more of that mix in there. So, just be ready. Don't freak out. Be ready. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. All right. St. Louis County voters are going to decide the fate of Proposition B. After all, it was a wild day in the courts yesterday. One judge struck it from the ballot on Tuesday, and then an appeals court reversed that decision hours later. Proposition B is a proposed charter amendment that would, if passed, give the county council the ability to fire executive department heads with a supermajority vote. We are going to talk to County Councilman Dennis Hancock at 6:35 about this. So Sam Page is saying this thing is so confusing and misleading, but the reality is I think he's the one doing the confusing and the misleading, because this chips into his ability to run things in a corrupt, non-transparent fashion.
Projection seems to be a consistent thing with these types of things.
That's exactly true. Yeah, exactly. So, but he also says that after the appeals court decision was set into place, and we'll ask Dennis about this here in a little bit, that they're going to keep all their legal options. So essentially, Sam Page is going to brace for voters to curtail his power and then probably try to sue over the results of it. Yeah, so that's what I would expect. But we'll get into that in just a little bit later here. All right. President Trump, speaking from the Oval Office on Tuesday before signing another executive order to cut the federal workforce following findings uncovered by the Department of Government Efficiency. And this all, of course, is a part to save taxpayer funding and expenses. The president, this copy is weird. All right. So the president was discussing his decision to begin those investigations and make cuts from many federal agencies. And he's saying that he's not even close to being done.
When you look at USAID, that's one. We're going to look at the military. We're going to look at education. They're much bigger areas, but the USAID is really corrupt.
And here's the thing, is a federal judge, by the way, at no point should anybody have any problem with any administration, Republican or Democrat, saying, let's go ahead and do basically an audit to make sure that the money is going where it's supposed to go and that it's proper spending.
That is the most confusing thing about this entire thing is you're more upset that waste is being exposed than the fact that it was wasted in the first place.
Right. Yeah. Or corruption in the first place. So, a federal judge recently, as we mentioned yesterday, blocking the deadlines for federal employees to either agree to a buyout program or return to in-person work. Why somebody would be suing to try to micromanage how the executive manages the executive branch is only partisan. That's the only thing I can think of. This is also marking an effort from DOJ to curb wasteful spending overall. All right, we're going to talk about this in more depth a little bit later on here. It is 6:11 right now, by the way. St. Louis left-wing activists have set up a hotline to warn people about possible immigration enforcement in the metro area.
Try them all with reason.
Yep. The Immigration Service Providers Network, STL, says the so-called Rapid Response Line is designed to document possible ICE activity and connect anybody who's detained or arrested for being in the country illegally with legal and other resources. And I was looking at the article on this I found on one of the TV stations websites. And you know what? One word that they kept forgetting to put in their copy: illegal. It's all about, immigrants to help protect immigrants. This is they didn't mention illegal aliens.
Of course not, because then they cannot continue to fearmonger.
Right.
But even so, I think they know at the voter level, illegal is a qualifying word,
Right.
and that to justify their cognitive dissonance and their confirmation bias, they remove that because then it makes them sound like they're some sort of noble hero and not literal traitors to our nation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and maybe we can get into this a little bit later, because there's the debate over the Trump administration basically reversing the Biden administration's policy, saying, well, we're not going to go in and like do a raid if an illegal is being held like in a church or in a faith-based organization. Granted, it's a tough look, I mean, the masks and the guns and everything, in the worst case scenario, going into a church, Saint whoever's of whatever. Sure, that's a tough look. But the reality is that for some reason, the left looks at the illegal aliens as a virtue signal. I mean, as a cause celeb, I mean, if you were hiding an accused criminal or a suspected criminal of any other crime, we would all look at that church and go, what the hell are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Which God are you serving?
Exactly.
And but they're here illegally trying to make their life better. So we're going to virtue signal protect them. There was a stupid church in Maplewood that did that for years. And the guy's, I don't know where he is now, but yeah, that's like their cause celeb virtue signal. So I'm a preacher's kid. I don't have any sympathy for the churches that decide to harbor criminal suspects. If they've been identified as somebody, they have a right to defend themselves in court. But I don't know what you're thinking when they're doing that.
Yeah, I've personally been affected by illegal alien criminals when I was growing up. And so anybody that wants to sit there and act like they're going to defend these people, you can get deported with them as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I get
Round
it.
them all up and off to Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, there you go. All right. The Trump administration's efforts to root out corruption in Washington's bureaucracy, as you know, facing dozens of legal challenges. I would say the left was knocked on their heels. They were knocked on their butts. But they're back up and they're getting into the court game here. And they have effectively halted several of President Trump's executive orders, at least for the time being, including those aimed at shrinking the federal workforce and freezing some government spending. Congressman Chip Roy, Republican out of Texas, was on the Ingram angle, and he says the president is being treated unfairly by the activist courts.
In the last administration, Joe Biden literally put out executive orders telling ICE, you can't even really enforce the law. So criminals can run amok and endanger Americans, but that's okay. But the president of the United States, President Trump, wants to go down and look at Social Security data to make sure it's not being duplicated, so our records aren't being stolen, and so we can be protected, and somehow he's the bad guy.
Some of the Democrats are claiming that the president's sweeping cuts to federal spending programs are unconstitutional and lack congressional oversight, saying a lot of the programs being cut or frozen are essential and relied on by millions of Americans.
Maybe millions too many Americans.
Yeah, exactly. That could be the point. Yeah, precisely here. All right. Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey, we're going to talk about this a little bit later on in more depth, suing Starbucks. And he's not suing them because their coffee sucks, which they would be guilty as charged.
Absolutely.
Their coffee sucks. He's accusing the chain of discrimination by engaging in racial and sex-based preferences in hiring, also by unlawfully segregating employees and offering certain training and benefits to specific groups of workers, but not to all of them.
Wow.
The programs he's referring to in the lawsuit are part of Starbucks' stated DEI initiatives. So the company denies all of the accusations, and we'll get into that just a little bit later on. All right. Spring training is underway for the Cardinals. Pitchers and catchers reported to Jupiter on Tuesday. Expectations for this team are about ankle high.
Don't try to make me stop. No inspiration. You have a soul so dark it is no more.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
At Elite Comfort Experts, they don't believe in gimmicks, just guarantees. And now they're teaming up with Amana Heating and Air Conditioning to bring you a 99-year compressor and heat exchange warranty and a 10-year parts and labor warranty on a high new efficiency HVAC system. This exclusive offer is available on qualifying systems installed before April 15th. Choose integrity and quality. Choose Elite Comfort Experts. Call Elite at 636-887-0971 or visit EliteComfortExperts.com. Mention the promo code NewsTalkSTL.
Hello, Tim Jones here with Eric from Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. Eric, your diamonds are so fantastic at Newsteaders. You named the website after them, wowdiamonds.com. Tell us about Wow Diamonds.
Well, we picked that name because when people look at the diamonds, they all exclaim the same thing. Everybody says, wow. And nobody can spell Newsteaders, so we figured Wow Diamonds would definitely be a good tagline, and it's very accurate. We actually introduced the lab-grown diamond to our St. Louis family, and we're the exclusive home of the trademark marked Wow Diamond. It's the most perfectly cut and polished diamond you'll ever experience, and we can fit one into anyone's budget. The thing that's nice about them is they're significantly less expensive than a mined diamond, and of course the artwork is in the cutting and polishing. That's where you get the beauty in the diamond, and that's what we excel at.
Newsteaders, a St. Louis jewelry tradition since 1961. Stop by and find out why. 2961 Daughtery Ferry Road, or on the internet, wowdiamonds.com for Newsteaders, fine jewelers.
Craving something twisted, something deliciously different? Philly Pretzel Factory in Baldwin is your ticket to pretzel heaven. We're not just talking regular pretzels. We're talking out-of-this-world pretzel creations and mind-blowing pretzel pizza. Don't get yourself in a knot searching for the perfect snack. We've got party trays, specialty items, assorted pretzel tins, plus our legendary dips. Philly Pretzel Factory in Baldwin. Online at phillypretzelfactory.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
I think I'm sophisticated because I'm living my life like a good homo sapien. But all around me, everybody's multiplying and they're walking around like flying man.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the Morning.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me for the Right Mind Show on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this wacky radio station. You know, and speaking of wacky, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right. Missouri's Attorney General suing Starbucks, saying their DEI programs are discrimination. Yeah. Yeah. This is interesting here. By the way, still ahead here, 2 judges, 2 different opinions. Sam Page loses again, at least for right now. Voters are going to decide whether he wins or loses come April. I've got the update for you at 6:35. We're going to talk to Dennis Hancock from the St. Louis County Council. This whole thing with Proposition B, it's become a convoluted mess because Sam Page is trying to make it a convoluted mess. The courts sorted it out. It was a wild day. Oh, another one of these days. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so let's get to this here. That cup of coffee that you get at Starbucks, first of all, it's over roasted to the point of being burned.
Absolutely.
I don't get the Starbucks thing. I really don't. But is that cup of coffee discriminatory? Good Lord.
Don't worry. We'll make it.
My goodness. All right. Anyway, here we go. So yeah, I saw this lawsuit here that is filed by the Attorney General, Andrew Bailey. And he is suing Starbucks. And apparently, I mean, I didn't realize there's like 200 Starbucks throughout the state of Missouri. So
that's way too many.
Yes, it's a lot of Starbucks. And so he says that they're violating federal and state anti-discrimination laws. And so the lawsuit was formally put into place on Tuesday. And he says that they're engaging in race and sex-based hiring practices. But he's also saying they're unlawfully segregating employees, and they are offering certain training and employment benefits exclusively to people based on select groups. So demographic groups.
Yeah, it's interesting. The more I look into like DEI and all that sort of stuff, is the same people that complain about how bad America was because we had segregation by law are trying to put segregation back into law.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. Why? I don't understand it. How do they justify this?
Well, the funny part is that as citing the source for one of the sources in the lawsuit, he's actually citing a memo from Starbucks. He's like, okay, here's what you all said, where Starbucks set and then tracked what they called inclusion and diversity goals, aiming for at least 30% what's called BIPOC, which is, in case you're not familiar with that term, Black, Indigenous, people of color. So basically anybody who's not white.
Yeah.
So at least 30% non-white representation at corporate levels and 40% BIPOC at the retail and the manufacturing levels by this year, by 2025. So according to the lawsuit, Starbucks U.S. workforce is 69% female, 49% BIPOC, 49% Black, Indigenous, people of color by 2020. And those numbers have gone up with mostly women. But they have had, they've gone up with
more women, but more white women. So
Of course.
they have now 70.9% women and 46.5% BIPOC as of last September, meaning that they've actually become a little whiter, which was opposition to their goals, clearly.
Mhm.
So a couple things here. First of all, there's a little bit of the libertarian in me that's
Mhm.
kind of struggling with it a little bit. Is Starbucks stated goals discriminatory? Yeah, it looks like it, you know. But does a private company have a right to have a stupid hiring practice and then face the market consequences for it?
I mean, I guess because again, if you think it's what's best for your corporate culture
Yeah.
and your customer base and your profits, then
Right.
why would you not then pursue it? But where's the data for that?
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah, they according to the lawsuit again, Starbucks. Well, this isn't according to the lawsuit. They've just made very, public statements about this. That this is their, this is their thing. They're the sort of leftist virtue signaling, herald the banner kind of thing. They've pledged to create mentorship programs, but only for BIPOC employees. They've also said they're going to provide additional training and advancement opportunities for the, frankly, non-white employees that are not available to the white employees, or at least not to the white males.
That's where I have the problem.
See, yeah, that's why I think where Andrew Bailey said, all right, we got him. So we're going to file that lawsuit. The attorney general is arguing that those targeted initiatives violate anti-discrimination laws by giving preferential treatment to people based on race or ethnicity, which I think they obviously do. And then what's going to happen is somebody on the left is going to say, but we're trying to make up for other discrimination because society's racist
Mhm.
and we're being virtuous, by by trying to advance these people who have been set behind because apparently, if you're a minority or you're female, you can't make it on your own and you need, the corporate do-gooder activist to fix things for you.
I think that is really what is counterproductive to this entire ideology is simultaneously, in a way, you were saying that people that are not white men just have no hope of ever being able to
Yeah.
achieve on their own. We need the white men to then put us in these positions and do all this for us. But at the same time, now we need to be able to exclude the white man. It's like you are that if my grandfather or grandmother was talking to me about that, about anybody else, you know how incredibly racist that would be?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So Starbucks obviously is denying the accusations. They say, and I'm quoting here, we disagree with the attorney general and these allegations are inaccurate. We are deeply committed to creating opportunity for every single one of our partners, which that's what they call their employees. Our programs and benefits are open to everyone and are lawful. Our hiring practices are inclusive, fair, and competitive, and designed to ensure the strongest candidate for every job every time. Okay. We'll see what they end up doing, but what's happening here is that basically Andrew Bailey is shining a light on the DEI practice of one of the most unapologetic left-wing companies out there.
Mhm.
I don't even really care because, my daughter was a big, what she would like, I'm going to go get Starbies. You want some, Dad? No, I don't, and even before they got all loony, they were still a little loony and you just kind of rolled your eyes at it.
Mhm.
And it was, just not that big of a deal because I'm not going to be the first one to go boycott something just because they've got some, weirdos in the management or whatever. But what lost it for me is when Starbucks decided to be all in on BLM. I went through a drive-through with my I can't remember who, I think it was my wife was in the car with me, and they had the whole communist fist sticker up in the window, that sort of thing, and I'm like, no, that's it for me. And then of course when they a couple years ago decided to add a fund and they announced that they were adding taking some of the profits from everything you buy at Starbucks. And they have created a fund and go look up their own announcements on their own website if you don't believe me. But they have set up funds to pay for travel, to subsidize travel for employees who want to get abortions in state where abortions are illegal and they want to go get sex change, mutilation in states where that's illegal as well. So literally when you're purchasing something at Starbucks, maybe a few pennies, but part of what you're purchasing and paying to them is going to that. And at that point, that's when I said, it's not really so much about a boycott. I stopped drinking Starbucks a long time ago just because I don't think that coffee is very good. But I just can't justify my money going to that. So now you got Andrew Bailey saying, let's just look at what you're saying as far as what your DEI initiatives are. That looks like discrimination according to our laws. So what'll probably happen is I suspect Starbucks will probably make some kind of settlement, make some kind of changes to their programs. And they'll probably back down because the last thing they want right now is more DEI stuff in the news. You're just not going to win right now. 2 years from now, maybe you will, but you're not going to win right now.
No. And that's one of the biggest wins, I think, is that return to, we are done with this sort of, it's discriminatory, but not when we do it kind of mentality. And honestly, imagine not to make light of the situation, but you're a great employee at Starbucks. Here's your reward, not a pizza party, but an abortion or a sex change. Like what? Yeah. I don't know. I'm more glad now that I know this, that I've only had Starbucks once in my life than probably any other person in my life. Like,
it's, and again, there are businesses. I mean, listen, a lot of coffee shops just lean left. It's coffee shop culture. It is what it is. I don't.
Bunch of hipsters.
It's a bunch of
good.
They'll grow up someday. They'll grow up someday. Maybe understand economics. Maybe we'll see.
Maybe.
But I don't care about that. But Starbucks has just decided to make that their virtue signal. And at this point, they've kind of run afoul of this corporate leftism. And you look at, like, for instance, Target now being sued by a lot of investors who said, you told us the DEI was going to be good for the bottom line. You lied, or you were very, very, very wrong. And so now they're dealing with a lawsuit from investors.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how you make those structural changes, is you do it in the marketplace. So now you've got the Attorney General taking them on over their DEI programs. Other companies are getting hit from investors. They're not using the government. They're using, now they're using civil lawsuits, but they're saying, no, get back to the actual marketplace. I mean, Starbucks, here's the bottom line. If your coffee was really good, I might have a tougher time arguing against you.
Yes.
But it's not.
And that's the thing too, when people, again, the same people that want to enforce their ideologies on corporations are the same ones that will sit there and say, well, these evil corporations, this and that. Vote with your wallet.
Yes.
You cannot, I mean, obviously with politics, it's a little bit different, but with any company, if Disney Plus right now, people are, because they're adding ads to their ad-free service. Mm-hmm. People are saying, you know what, I'm not okay with that. Unsubscribe. We can make such a difference. We can put a huge message by affecting their bank accounts more than we can posting online, getting all angry, right?
Right. Exactly. And of course, there's a lot of people who just said, I just quietly stopped buying your product.
Yep.
I saw another article yesterday. Bud Light has not recovered from the whole Dylan Mulvaney thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not even coming close to it. And they're probably never going to. The market speaks. The free market absolutely works.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about Sam Page and talk about chipping into his power that he's been abusing all these years. Voters are going to decide Proposition B in April. We're going to talk to Dennis Hancock from County Council about that right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Cause compared to the sun that sits in the sky, compared to the clouds that say goodbye, compared to the bugs and the spiders and flies, I am an ape man.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Travel conditions changing rapidly through the morning as snow and sleet marches in from the west. Roads could turn slick in a hurry. Be careful out there. Temps steady in the low 30s through the day with that mix of mainly snow and sleet around the St. Louis metro area, totaling about 1 to 3 inches with more possible to the northwest before this shuts down late this afternoon and this evening. Turns colder tonight down to 18, and then Thursday's dry but chilly. 27 for the high tomorrow. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Hi, Sean Long from STL Fenceworks. A new fence or deck is an investment in your home and your lifestyle. But how do you ensure that you're getting the most out of that investment? At STL Fenceworks, we know the key is satisfaction. Satisfaction means getting a fence or deck that not only meets your needs, but exceeds your expectations. Satisfaction means working with a team that cares about your project as much as you do. Satisfaction means having confidence in the quality of your new fence or deck, knowing that it was built with the best of materials and workmanship. STL FenceWorks, your satisfaction is our passion. And for me, satisfaction is knowing that providing for your family is how I provide for mine. Visit stlfenceworks.com and experience the satisfaction in making your backyard dreams into a reality.
Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
All your hard-earned tax dollars and mine are going to fund illegal aliens who come across the border penniless, jobless, skillless, and they're given a cell phone, an identity, and a cash stipend every month.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
That beats your Social Security income if you should have the good nature to work your ass off your whole life and retire.
Mark McCloskey on fire. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL. Brought to you in part by Modern Weapon Systems in Fenton. Number 1 for live and local
conservative talk.
I'm very angry.
I've heard a lot of people talking about gun control. You have to wave a magic wand and get rid of the establishment. This maniac is going to inspire the next maniac.
News, analysis, opinion.
But my focus is kind of the mental health crisis. Swamp stuff in the drain itself. I'm just sick of the protesting in general. And that's why it's so very important to be prepared.
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is number 1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. When you've got something to say, be heard loud and clear.
If they'll just do what they were voted in to do.
This party needs to get a backbone. They need to get some spine.
Join the conversation. St. Louis's place to talk.
The Democrats and the Republicans can give us all the lip service they want, but what they need to do is take action today.
101.9 and 94.1.
You know, you have to take a stand sometimes.
This is News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion. So many ways to listen to News Talk STL. Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
Yes, I'm listening.
Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Hi, this is Jefferson County Councilman Billy Crow with a reminder to check out our new show, Jeffco Patriot Radio, this and every Sunday at high noon. Now, back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
All right, it turns out the St. Louis County voters are going to decide the fate of Proposition B. After all, despite Sam Page's latest losing court effort, and the question is going to be is how much has he been able to confuse the issue at hand here. By the way, we got Flashback Friday coming up. We are expecting Stell to be back in tomorrow. So by the way, Jerome, thanks for pinch hitting so much here over the past week or so, not just for us, but for basically everybody.
I was going to say, if it keeps it out, they're going to get too used to hearing Jerome here, right?
That's right. So Flashback Friday is coming up. So start sending in those 80s bump music requests. So we'll start jotting those down and getting those to Stell, or just send them directly to Stell, either way. Joined now by Dennis Hancock from the St. Louis County Council. Dennis, good to chat with you. That was a wild day in the courts yesterday. So I was actually surprised when I saw the headline that one judge says, yep, take Proposition B off the ballot, and ruling that it was, confusing and misleading and all that sort of stuff. And that was the lawsuit by the different department heads who, frankly, apparently don't want to risk being fired. So they decide to go to court. And then hours later, an appeals court judge puts Proposition B back on the ballot. So let's start with the basics. Voters are going to decide Proposition B come April, one way or the other. And what you're asking voters is to allow the county council to have the ability to fire department heads. But we're talking about a super majority vote here. And this has not been all that controversial on the council itself at this point, right?
No, it did. Good morning, Mike. Appreciate you having me on this morning to kind of explain the situation. No, you're exactly right. It really hasn't been controversial with the council. What we found over the last, since my time on the council, a little over 2 years now, is it's very difficult for us to get information from the various departments. We have budget meetings and things like that. It just, they don't come prepared. They don't come with the information we need to make good, informed decisions. And so what we've decided is that most municipalities in the area have the ability for the council or for the executive or a combination of both to take action when necessary to remove someone from a high-paying job that isn't doing that job. And this gives the council a say in who's working for the county. And I think it's long overdue. And I think it's just going to make our jobs a lot easier and hopefully eliminate some of the back and forth that's been going on for the last couple of years since the Page administration came into power.
Yeah, and this is one of the ways this has been painted in media coverage has been this is an ongoing, the next step in the conflict between the council and the Page administration. And in a normal circumstance, Dennis, I would say, boy, let's not change the county charter just because one guy is really bad at his job being in Sam Page. But the fact of the matter is that voters have had to go to the charter to amend it multiple times because of the abuse of the office of Sam Page. We've had to go back and tell him, no, the county charter says you can't have a outside employment. We mean that. We voted that in the county charter. We voted on, some other spending and limiting of the county executive's authority. This right here isn't giving you all the, hiring this isn't giving you all everyday oversight of the department. It's still an executive department, but this seems like this gives you that ace in the hole if there's an extreme situation, because asking for 5 out of 7 votes is pretty tough in most situations when it comes to a county council that's bipartisan in the first place. So this seems to be like this is a for the worst case scenario situation overall, and Sam Page doesn't even want that to be a possibility.
No, yeah, I think you summed it up very well there. I think this is going to be used in extraordinary situations. This is not going to be used to because somebody didn't plow somebody's street. This is going to be used because there's something seriously wrong that the administration isn't addressing and needs to be addressed. And so I think that's really what we're trying to get across to the voters, and what you're going to be hearing from us over the next several months is that this is not us grabbing more power. This is us simply being able to do our jobs. And the council does have a role to play in day-to-day government. We do have a role to play in making sure that the taxpayers are getting the maximum return on their tax dollar investment. And so in order for us to do that, we have to be viewed as a co-equal branch of government instead of as just someone to be dealt with on Tuesday nights, and then you all go off and do something else.
So we're talking about a checks and balances kind of concept?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that when we get to the point of where someone where we're seriously considering terminating someone, that takes a lot. That's a pretty high bar to cross.
Yeah, I mean, if Prop B were to pass, because I know that the concept is simple, a supermajority vote could fire the director of whatever, the whatever department that it is out there. But what would under Prop B, what would the process look like if voters were to give you that kind of power?
Well, I think it really comes down to anything else that the council does. You introduce a bill, and then that bill would be acted upon by a supermajority of the council if someone is going to be terminated. If a supermajority isn't garnered, that person stays in their job.
We're visiting with Dennis Hancock from the St. Louis County Council, and it seems to me, just based on Sam Page's reaction in the statement that they put out, that one, they think it's very possible the voters are going to approve this. And if that's the case, it sounds like they're preparing possibly to sue over the results of the election. Is that how you're reading the threats that are coming from the administration at this point?
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy to threaten the voters with another lawsuit that's going to cost several $100,000, and then accuse the council of spending $500,000 to put it on the ballot so that the voters have a say.
Yeah.
I just find the juxtaposition of that to be interesting. But yeah, this isn't going to be the council interfering in the day-to-day operations of the county. This is going to be the council doing its job and doing the job. And if the voters agree, then the voters will be the ones to give us the authority to do that. And if they disagree, then they won't give it to us.
Yeah, because we are literally talking about a charter amendment. Of course, he sent you all a veto notice on this, which he has absolutely no authority to veto. So and he knows that. I don't know what that was all about. So at this point, then, is it just a matter of the appeals court has ruled, the ballot is set? Now it's a matter of let's have the discussion and the debate. I don't know who's going to campaign for what or against what or anything like that. We're going to be talking about it here. But at this point right now, we need to be pointing out, okay, this is a long-term, this is a permanent change. The voters are being asked. Sam Page is obviously the reason that we're having this conversation. But this is something that will change some of the oversight, those checks and balances, and to some degree power in the county government. And the frustrating thing, Dennis, is, I mean, what the county government does, you're supposed to keep the roads, fixed up, the parks working nicely, the police for the county police, the various things that the utilities aren't in the municipal names. I mean, there are these such practical things the county government is supposed to be doing. And for years, it's all cut up in this mess because Sam Page wants to essentially create a fiefdom, and he keeps getting smacked down by the courts and by the voters. It's just so frustrating to see this level of incompetence and corruption leading to this time and time and time again.
I agree with you, Mike. I think that, and I've said this for some time now, this doesn't have to be this hard.
Yeah.
We can, find some common ground to work on. I've done it on the council level. We've got 4 Democrats and 3 Republicans, and we seem to get along pretty well. We seem to agree on most of the larger items that come to us. But every time we turn around, I mean, we've already overridden this year 4 vetoes of the county executive. It's not just the charter doesn't just refer to the county executive being the government. There's another branch of government as well, and that's the legislative branch. And we do have a role to play. And for the county executive to continually exert power that he doesn't have I agree with you. It gets very frustrating.
Yeah.
And I would hope that the voters are paying attention, and based on the results of the last few elections where there have been issues regarding the county executive, the voters have responded, I think, appropriately.
So what's next then in this? I mean, I know sometimes there's talk about, funding an education campaign. I've got a little bit of heartburn over how most of those are run, because I think they attempt to influence elections with taxpayer dollars. But what happens next in this process? Or is it a matter of it's on the ballot, voters decide, that's just how it is?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen, and I agree with you on the educational campaigns. I always find it ironic that you're spending taxpayer dollars to get people to give you more of their taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
But I think that what we have to do is, we need to educate the public, and we'll be doing it by doing things like coming on your show and others, and doing interviews, just laying out the case for the voters without using taxpayer dollars to do it. I don't see the council putting together any sort of an educational program. The challenge for us is going to be to stop the county executive from spending taxpayer dollars to educate the voters.
Right.
And so we're going to have to be vigilant, and we're going to have to make sure we're doing our due diligence.
All right. Dennis Hancock from the St. Louis County Council. Really appreciate that update. That's really helpful, Dennis. I'm sure I'm going to be picking your brain for more sooner rather than later on this.
Look forward to it, Mike.
All right. That's once again, Dennis Hancock, St. Louis County Council. Got some thoughts on it? Let's talk. 314-912-1019. Sam Page once again loses in court, which he seems to do an awful lot. So voters are going to decide Proposition B. Proposition B does not fire anybody. Proposition B says a supermajority of the county council can fire Sam Page's picks to head departments if they're not doing their job. But it's got to be a supermajority. A lot of this conversation is going to be between now and April and the April election. All right, it's 647 right here, 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
Are you hanging on the edge of your seat? Out of the doorway, the bullets rip to the sound of the beat, yeah.
I think you all know that I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are I'm from the government, and I'm here to help.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Live and local.
Listen to what those local folks are telling you.
News Talk STL.
Whether you're a saltwater fish fanatic, reptile enthusiast, or looking for small animal supplies, Lynn's Pets has it all. From feeder insects to exotic birds, we got you covered. Meet Kevin of RC, our passionate experts who don't just sell pets, they educate and care. One same-day delivery and personalized service, we live for it. Big chain stores, forget about it. At Lynn's Pets, we save you money and provide top-notch service. Lynn's Pets in the heart of Lynn'sville. Call 636-327-7700 or find us on Facebook.
History, wine, spirits, food, and music, plus an awesome name. That's the Old House in Hog Hollow. This beautiful historic home's been turned into a wine bar and event venue that can host any and all of your gatherings. Take a tour while enjoying a glass of wine and see all the original features that are still around from the 1850s. Open Thursday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and brunch, with live music on select dates paired with wine tasting. Find them at 14319 Olive Boulevard in Chesterfield or online at oldhouseinhoghollow.com.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. But don't just take our word for it. Here's Jackie and Veronica, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Just call, click, or bring us your bill and see how much you can save. Because when it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you. That's 1-888-FREEDOM, consumercellular.com, or one of our stores in Chesterfield, Arnold, or St. Charles. Real people paid to share their opinions in this ad. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the Morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
You know, you ever flavor your coffee with stuff? You know, we've got a few flavors back in there.
Yeah, occasionally.
Occasionally. You know what's not a good coffee flavor to mix in?
Ooh, which flavor?
Hall's cough drops.
Hey,
I just finished a cough drop, and now I'm sipping my first cup of coffee, and I'm like, "Ooh, that's not a good combandation."
Well, because of the menthol content, right?
The
So
menthol,
it's almost like you just washed your mouth out and then drink coffee. Don't do that.
But it's got to happen right now. 6:50 right now. All right, getting around town maybe a little bit tricky. Starting here in maybe a little over an hour or so. We're going to keep you updated on that. And then, of course, we just talked about the St. Louis County voters. You are going to decide Proposition B. Cardinals back in Jupiter to get ready for the 2025 campaign. Those are just some of the things in the news dump. Let's dump some news on you.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
All right, another round of winter weather moving into the area this morning. I know it is thanks to Lunch Lady on Rumble telling us that the winter weather is already past Kingdom City as of like an hour ago. So it's headed this way. Channel 4 tells us to expect a mix of snow and sleet and overall slushy conditions to start up between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. So you got about another hour and 15 minutes before the first stuff starts moving into the central kind of corridor of the St. Louis area. A little bit farther north, it's going to be more snow, just nothing but snow, like Bowling Green. Expect like 3 to 5 inches of snow.
Yeah, and that's not to say wait till the last second before you go out there and do stuff. You know it's coming. Act accordingly.
Right. Precipitation is expected to last until around, well, at least 4 p.m. It could hang around as late as 6 p.m. So Matt Chambers is going to bring us the up-to-the-minute update, KMOV meteorologist, and we're going to talk to him in about 40 minutes or so, right around 7:30 or so. All right. Boy, I tell you, the frenzy over Donald Trump and Doge and the cutting of the spending, it's really more than anything, it's telling. I think a lot of people are just invested in the who's going to win or lose the battle to expose the spending, or who's going to win or lose the battle to cut spending. I'm looking at it from that aspect, Jerome, but also from the aspect of, look who's throwing a fit about uncovering the what needs to be transparent.
Yeah.
Look at who's throwing it. Look at the people who are saying you can't stop that wasteful spending. You can't stop that corrupt spending. How dare you? Now, there are sometimes legitimate questions to say, wait a minute, if Congress authorized it, then Congress should be the one to pull it back. That's fair, but that's not what we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, so the counter argument, and I can't really argue with it, is if it was somebody like Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs when he was alive, if it was somebody like that, I'm sure the right would be up in arms and all were too. But if he was exposing $1 million on shrimp treadmills and $20 million for Sesame Street in Iraq, I mean, I think we would all agree that needs to stop immediately.
Right. And the thing is that we knew a lot of this was happening. There was the annual pork list that was put out by Citizens Against Government Waste. And what happens is they'd put out their book every year. They'd put out their press release every year. Radio stations like this would do interviews over the course of 3 or 4 days. And then we're like, gosh darn government. Then we go about our lives. But we have had such a rough run with the economy, and people understand how this affects us personally now more than I think we have in a long time, especially after we've seen the corruption that's come from the COVID shutdown era. So we've got kind of a perfect storm of people taking this very personally now.
Mm-hmm.
And so Donald Trump was speaking in the Oval Office on Tuesday. He was about to sign another executive order cutting the federal workforce. And that, of course, that decision was following findings uncovered by Doge in an effort to save taxpayer money. The president says his decisions to investigate and to make cuts are not done, and basically every federal entity is going to be looked at.
When you look at USAID, that's one. We're going to look at the military. We're going to look at education. They're much bigger areas, but the USAID is really corrupt.
Yeah, a federal judge recently blocking the deadlines for federal employees to either agree to a buyout program or return to in-person work. They're going to have a hearing on that. My guess is that Trump's executive orders on most of those are probably going to end up standing.
Yeah.
Because the bottom line is that the executive orders, and he's been very careful with these this time. He was very reckless in his first term, but he's been very careful this time. He's limiting it to how he is able to run the executive branch, which is what the purpose of an executive order is for.
Exactly.
Whereas before, he did essentially what Biden did later on, which was try to create law with an executive order. That doesn't stand, and it shouldn't stand, but he's being very savvy and being very, very careful this time. Okay, we're going to talk about this in more depth here in about 10 minutes or so. Let's see here. Some left-wing activists here in St. Louis have set up a hotline to warn people about possible immigration enforcement in the metro area.
Not okay.
No. And then let's get into why right around 7:05 or so. The Immigrant Service Providers Network, STL, says the so-called rapid response line is designed to document possible ICE activity and connect anyone who is detained or arrested for being in the country illegally with legal and other resources. So I've got a lot of thoughts on this one.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey is suing Starbucks, and it's not because their coffee sucks. Although you could sue them and accuse them of their coffee sucking, and they would be found guilty.
Yeah, false advertisement. There are no stars in those cups.
That's right. Yeah. The Attorney General is accusing the chain of discrimination by engaging in racial and sex-based preferences in hiring, accusing them of unlawfully segregating employees and offering certain training and benefits to specific groups of workers, but not all. The programs he's referring to in the lawsuit are part of the Starbucks DEI initiatives. So he's basically pointing to their programs and saying, you named them yourself. You created them. These are your stated goals. By the way, those violate federal and state anti-discrimination laws. The company denies the accusations. There's no court date or anything like that set just yet. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. But it's interesting because with Starbucks, they flat out set racial and gender preferences with hirings and so-called representation. And that's exactly what Andrew Bailey has said. By the way, that is picking winners and losers based on race and sex.
Yeah, I thought we were over racism and segregation being mainstream policies these days.
Well, they took end racism out of the Super Bowl end zone, so I think we fixed it. There's that. All right, spring training is now officially underway for the Cardinals. Pitchers and catchers reported to Jupiter on Tuesday. And as I said last hour, expectations for this team this year are ankle high.
Hey, it's Susie Moore to tell you about Michael's Flooring. Michael's is known for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. Installing new flooring should be exciting, not a hassle you dread. Michael's has solved that, and their long list of happy repeat customers is proof. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, ceramic tile, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring, with 3 locations, St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Attention hungry humans, head to Pop's Kitchen, your locally owned and operated food paradise. With 2 convenient locations, we've got something for everyone. Craving chicken, fish, or steak? We've got it. Plus, mouth-watering sides. From lunch to dinner, our fresh, diverse menu satisfies all ages and tastes. But wait, there's more. Need a quick snack, soda, or even liquor? Pop's is your one-stop shop for people on the go. Our friendly staff can't wait to serve you at both locations, on McKelvey in Maryland Heights and on the Rock Road, Breckenridge Hills. Pop's Kitchen. Come hungry, leave happy.
Attention reptile lovers, ready to discover your next scaly friend? Welcome to the Show Me Reptile Shop, your ultimate destination for fascinating reptiles and exotic pets, with 3 convenient locations in Troy, St. Peter's, and Springfield. We have an amazing selection of snakes, lizards, turtles, and more. Whether you're a seasoned herpetologist or a curious beginner, we've got the perfect pet waiting for you. Show Me Reptile Shop. Visit us in Troy, St. Peter's, or Springfield, and online at showmereptileshow.com.
To our brave police officers and first responders, we say thank you for risking your lives to protect us. To all the incredible volunteers who've joined hands with the David Dorn Foundation to raise funds for equipment and services, we extend our heartfelt gratitude. We stand strong with our volunteers who give their time, talent, and dedication as a shield of support for those who rush into danger. The David Dorn Foundation gives a big thank you from our heart to yours. Visit dornfoundation.com and join as a volunteer.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. Amit Thomason. Smiles all around as an American released from a Russian jail returns to the U.S., greeted by President Trump at the White House.
Mark Fogel, a history teacher from Pennsylvania who was imprisoned in Russia for 3.5 years, was released and then flown to the White House.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now.
The president described Moscow's willingness to return Fogel as potentially good news for ending the war in Ukraine.
I think we've made great progress on the war also. Getting the war, I want to get the war ended.
He also said another American would be released on Wednesday. Greg Clugston, Washington.
And Moscow says a Russian citizen, as of yet unidentified, was freed in exchange for Fogel. Elon Musk says Americans voted for major government reform, and that's what they're going to get. Musk heads President Trump's DOGE initiative, looking at ways to cut wasteful government spending. Echoing President Trump's warning to Hamas, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says the terror group had better release all of the hostages by Saturday, or else. Correspondent Joe Fetterman in Jerusalem.
His tough words come after Hamas announced it will not free the hostages. It accuses Israel of violating the ceasefire. It says Israel is obligated to allow more badly needed aid into the territory. Netanyahu's tough position comes after President Trump called on Hamas to release all remaining hostages by Saturday. That's over 70 people.
Former Israeli U.S. Ambassador Michael Oren says it's clear that Israelis are tired of the Gaza war.
I think we're dealing with a society that is so injured, so wounded and deeply wounded, physically, emotionally.
Still, Oren tells the Salem Radio Network there is widespread recognition that the conflict is not over and that Hamas must be destroyed. On Wall Street, the Dow futures are down 50 points. NASDAQ futures 37 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
No, you're really not stuck, really. People think when it comes to paying for health care, they just have to kind of go along with the way it is, no matter how frustrated they are with it. but it's not true. MetaShare has been a huge help to people for 30 years now. And more these days, especially, people are realizing what a great alternative it is. And the difference isn't just the savings, which are huge. It's the whole thing. You're a part of something good. It's a community of people who care for and pray for and encourage each other. You don't have to pay things you don't believe in either. You're actually sharing. And yeah, back to the savings, often up to $500 a month with MetaShare. The customer service is refreshing too, because they're for you. It's just a different way. And even though you might feel stuck, the frustrating status quo, it's not. So you can call them now and start saving and feeling better about how you're doing it too. Here's the number. It's 844-41-BIBLE. That's 844-41-BIBLE. 844-41-BIBLE.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Travel conditions changing rapidly through the morning as snow and sleet marches in from the west. Roads could turn slick in a hurry. Be careful out there. Temps steady in the low 30s through the day with that mix of mainly snow and sleet around the St. Louis metro area, totaling about 1 to 3 inches with more possible to the northwest before this shuts down late this afternoon and this evening. Turns colder tonight down to 18, and then Thursday's dry but chilly. 27 for the high tomorrow. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Shane.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Jewels on Hampton, paying some of the highest prices for your gold, silver, diamonds, and more. Call 314-752-5000 or visit jewelsonhampton.com.
Looking for the perfect Valentine's gift that won't break the bank? Anthony's Produce has romance covered. Order the Valentine's Special, a dozen roses and a dozen chocolate-covered strawberries for $39.99. Call or book yours today at 636-936-0496 or visit anthonysproduce.com. Plus, we have gorgeous handcrafted fruit bouquets, seasoned firewood, and fresh produce daily. Anthony's Produce, open 7 days a week. 701 Juckerman Road and anthonysproduce.com.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple saw Darius!
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
All right, some local left-wing activists decide to help illegal aliens here in the St. Louis metro. That's a headline you're not going to see in any of the mainstream media. But yeah, I'll tell you what's going on here. This is interesting because with ICE cracking down, basically anywhere and everywhere they can find illegal aliens, especially those who are suspected of or been convicted of violent crimes. You've now got activists here sort of circling the wagons in St. Louis saying, we got to warn the illegals that ICE may be coming. So I'll tell you what they're doing here in just a second. It's 7:06 right now. Don't forget, we got Flashback Friday coming up this week. So Stell will be back in tomorrow, as far as we know. And so send in those Flashback Friday bump music requests. If you send them in on social media, Jerome, you'll see them. And then you can jot those down, right?
If you comment on any on the X stream or on the Rumble stream, I can see them.
You can see those.
Or
Okay.
you can email me at jerome@newstalkstl.com. I don't
Right.
use Facebook. I still need to get back on that bandwagon.
Okay.
So
Or
yeah.
email Stell directly or email
Or just show up to the studio, drop us off like a little sticky note, get sick with us, you know.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You know what? Just to tell the story. And I mentioned this, I think a little bit ago. I was talking to somebody who's going to be on the show later this week. I was talking to him on the phone yesterday. I tried to text, but he's like, no, let's just talk. And he said, you want me to come in the studio again? like, no, I don't. And he's like, really? Because normally if somebody's willing to come in the studio, it just sounds better and it's cooler because, you're here in person and it's just better for everybody. And I said, man, you understand. I said, literally 2/3 of our station was out sick within the last week because it has been so brutal here. I said, we are trying to not have anybody in the station if we don't have to.
Yeah, I was getting really lonely here for a little bit, not gonna lie.
Yeah. Oh man. So here's I found this story.
Uh-oh.
Oh, sorry. Found it on Fox 2's Fox 2. And Fox 2, you know what? They've got their biases like everybody else. They were really unusually bad with this article. Because Fox 2, I think, typically does an okay job. I mean, KSDK is awful.
Yes.
When it comes to their writing and their bias. It's just insane. But I found the article saying St. Louis Immigrant Support Group launches hotline to report ICE activity. Yeah. And it is exactly what you would think that it is. So this group called Immigrant Service Providers Network, STL. And by the way, nowhere in the article do you see the word illegal. And that's irresponsible by media.
Yes.
Because you're not hearing conservatives. You're not hearing law enforcement. You're not hearing Trump saying, let's go after the legal immigrants.
No.
Nobody is saying that. And what's happening is the media and the left are continuing to conflate illegal and illegal immigration because we do have a valid need for legal immigration. Now, are there some, bigots out there who just, are xenophobic and don't want it? Sure. There's a few of those out there. There's a few of the guys running around, in their tin pot hats or whatever. But they're non-entities. Okay. We're talking about criminal, illegal immigration. We're talking about illegal aliens. That's what we're talking about here. And this organization here has decided, and no, I'm not going to repeat the hotline on the air. I'm not going to do that.
Absolutely not.
No. But what they're doing is they're encouraging, and the news report says individuals are encouraged to call the hotline at the number if they see ICE agents around the St. Louis community. So let's think about what this group is actually doing. If you see law enforcement that is possibly in town to deal with a clear problem that is hurting our community. I mean, we've got the guy who killed the police officer on I-70 who had how many different convictions in St. Charles County? We had, the people knifed in the laundromat in West St. Charles County.
Human trafficking rings.
Human trafficking. Yeah. So we've got all of that here. We've had Sheriff Marshak from Jefferson County on the show here saying, here's what we're seeing. We know it's happening. We've come across it. Now, during the Biden administration, their hands were tied a lot. And so what they're doing is they're saying, please call in so we can protect the people committing crimes.
Yes.
That's what they're doing.
Yes.
Now, are all illegal aliens outside of being here illegally, are they committing violent crimes? Absolutely not. I'm convinced it's a small percentage. Being in the country illegally is a crime. I've heard a lot of people on the left here go, well, it's not it's just a misdemeanor. No. It's actually a federal crime
felony
to be in this country illegally. So what you have here is somebody saying, call us so that we can warn people and so they can get away. Now let's take let's take lesser crimes. And I were to set up something that says, hey, call me, Mike, at whatever number, and let me know if you happen to see the police around and they're looking for
somebody that owes child support.
Right. Somebody who owes child support, somebody who was stealing catalytic converters, somebody who's whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then I can warn them so they can hide or get away. I'm aiding and abetting criminal activity at that point, aren't I?
Absolutely.
I mean, isn't that a crime?
Absolutely.
So here's my question. Isn't the Immigrant Service Providers Network, STL, actively committing a crime?
Not only aiding and abetting that way.
Yeah.
U.S. Code 8 1342, I believe it is, subsection 3 makes it a literal federal crime to knowingly aid, abet, harbor, conceal, yada yada yada, somebody that is illegal, and that would include setting up
Right.
ways for them to escape ICE deportations. I don't understand, like, because I know people personally that are trying to convince me that this is no different than Anne Frank trying to hide from the Nazis.
Right. Okay.
And that is
Yeah.
absolutely disgusting.
It is.
If you think that way, and then you want to call the right, Trump people cultists and MAGA cultists, but you are so convinced that getting rid of people back to their own countries, not exterminating them, but putting them back to where they came from, is the same thing as the extermination of a people that had nowhere else to go. Like,
Right.
How brainwashed and how delusional are
Mhm.
you?
Yeah, and I'm trying to get people to look at this from the perspective of, if you want to argue that we've got to reform our immigration process, okay, that's great. Let's have that conversation. That doesn't change the rules, and if somebody's in this country illegally, they are doing harm to this country.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing harm to our communities. And I understand that you're saying, what you're talking about, the guy who's just trying to send money back home and he's cooking food at a restaurant, or he's, cleaning something. He's not hurting anybody. Well, maybe with his every single, day doing his work. I get that. But the reality is that we have been invaded in this country.
Mm-hmm.
The Biden administration, it wasn't that they just cared so much for other cultures. They don't. They intentionally went to destabilize our nation and our culture and our economy.
100%.
And they succeeded.
Yep.
And so what's happening right now is this is being set right. And by the way, we're talking about illegal immigrants. What happens is the leftist groups immediately want to say, oh, yeah, you don't like Hispanics. Okay, we're not talking about one group of people. Yeah, there are lots of illegal aliens, for instance, from Venezuela right now, we know, because of the Tren de Aragua gangs, the TDA gangs, that we know have committed acts of violence. You can go to Laken Riley's murder. You can go to, as I mentioned, the St. Charles cases, the St. Charles County cases. So we've got all of these here. And for somebody in St. Louis to say the priority is going to have to be, it's going to have to be protecting those in the country illegally, those committing the crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, every one of these illegals that you help avoid detection. And remember, if ICE is in town, they are primarily targeting the people who are suspected of violent crimes or who have been confirmed to have been in violent crimes. That's who you're protecting right now. You're not protecting the guy in the back of the restaurant. That guy's fine unless he just kind of gets caught up in the middle, and he's subject to be picked up too.
And that, I don't want to aid or abet anybody, but that is the thing that the people that are so freaked out don't get. If you would aid in the efforts of getting rid of the vile criminals, the actual criminals, there is a much less likelihood of the people you don't want that are illegal getting caught up as collateral, because that is how this is going to work. Now, I think, like, tip me off and I will help ICE. That's where I'm at. But absolutely, you are actively going out of your way to defend people that have, how many of them right now, if you look them up, have had crimes against children?
Right.
That's unacceptable.
Right. It is. And so, but for some reason, illegal immigrants, illegal aliens has become the virtue signal of some of the most fringe left.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why those of you on the left have picked that. 314-912-1019. Let me know. We got to do an information segment here in a second, but I'm all ears. I'm all ears to know why this has become your virtue signal. This is something that, frankly, everybody should be able to agree on.
Absolutely.
Especially after you've seen the tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars spent catering to, coddling, and inviting people into the country illegally.
If you love America, this should be a no-brainer.
Oh, that may be the rub right there. That may be what it is. That's the difference. All right. Let's talk about it here. 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
Stop right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to you.
You're here illegally.
Yes.
Go home.
Now, before you blow us all away.
Columbo and Company.
On Wednesday, we'll get caught up on all the important local news when we talk to Missouri political insider Rodney Boyd at 2:20. Then we'll open Closest Cabinet at 3:05.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Art Del Cueto, Vice President of the National Border Patrol Council. They say that it will cost us $3 billion to deport every single illegal immigrant.
How much money have we already given other countries to defend their own borders? Is our country not worth defending? Are our borders not worth defending? Is the future of our country not worth defending?
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Nate Lucas here for the Village Bar in the heart of Des Peres. Since 1948, the Village Bar has been the go-to destination for delicious food, cold drinks, and unbeatable atmosphere. Savor their famous wings, burgers, and onion rings, or grab a drink from their fully stocked bar. Catch all the big games and enjoy the company of their friendly staff. Plus, don't miss the 1879 Distillery, a one-of-a-kind experience right next door. The Village Bar offers the best value in town. Find the Village Bar on Facebook and come experience where history meets great times. You'll be glad you did.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-6766. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
This is so stupid.
St. Louis's.
Okay, I'm hanging up on you now.
Place to talk. News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL.
All right. Missouri's Attorney General is suing Starbucks, saying their DEI programs are discrimination. You give you some updates on that because I think it's kind of interesting. Starbucks just can't seem to stay out of the headlines. And it used to be Starbucks would get into headlines because they did something artistic or creative, 15, 20 years ago. Now they're just always like in conflict with somebody. And they get in trouble with both conservatives and on the left because how many Starbucks now have like labor unions because the pouring the coffee is too hard. They have to have union representation now.
Oh my God.
So stupid.
It almost reminds me of the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light thing because we were outraged because why are you doing that? And then we're not, that's not your target audience. And then they tried to pander back to the right to get sales. Right. And then Dylan was like, see, they abandoned us. And then they made the people that they pandered to mad. And Starbucks is in the same situation.
Okay.
again.
So let's throw all these in there together because now you've got Target as well.
Yes.
And Target is now facing a lawsuit from investors who said, wait a minute, all your DEI nonsense has really cost the company. And we can clearly show where they lost a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Over, and it wasn't even just, a lot of people say it was the Gay Pride Month thing. It wasn't.
No.
It was the targeting of children.
Yes.
That's what it was. And, Target doubled down on this because something, happened there for a long time in corporate America where they thought, well, we have to use our platform. And Starbucks is among those leaders. And, well, we have to use our platform. And so, they brought back the old CEO and he's kind of getting back to business. It's funny because I got a kick out of it when some of the local Starbucks were like doing the unionization things, which I don't know if there's much dumber than a coffee shop saying, I need a union to protect me in the coffee shop.
Oh.
Listen, you're not dragging railroad ties around. Okay, Sparky.
Yeah.
You're just not. listen, you get to put they, them on your name tag and not be questioned. You're not stuffing here. Okay.
Yeah. You're not stacking boxes and freighters. You're putting little smiley faces on cups for people.
Right. Precisely. By the way, don't forget News Talk STL's podcast or on-demand listening. You can subscribe to either just this show or subscribe to News Talk STL overall. And that's a great way to share these conversations. For instance, that conversation we had with Dennis Hancock a little bit earlier today about Proposition B. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to head to the polls and don't know what Proposition B is because it's kind of wonky and technical.
Yeah.
Send those conversations to your friends who are engaged. If they're engaged, they're like, hey, you got 8 minutes to listen to somebody say exactly what this is and why it's on the ballot. Couple clicks on your phone and you're good to go.
Yeah, don't let this be another Amendment 3 thing, because I took the time to read it, to explain it to people. When they got to the polls, it did not accurately represent what Amendment 3 actually included.
That's
and so when I went back and explained it to them, they're like, I can't believe I just voted for that. I'm like, why? I explained it to you. So please, it takes a very little effort and it can make all the difference in Missouri politics.
Precisely. Exactly. All right. So Attorney General Andrew Bailey is suing Starbucks. And so the bottom line is here, without going into, all the ins and outs of it, is essentially he's taken their DEI programs and said, here are your memos. Here are your stated goals. Certain percentage of people who are either female or BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, basically people who are not white men.
Mm-hmm.
You have stated that your goals are to have certain percentages of people hired who are in these categories. By the way, that's discrimination because you are picking people based on these categories. And he just looked right at their results and their efforts. Now, I struggle a little bit with this. And this is where I think, the situation with Starbucks is a little bit different than like with Bud Light and some of these others, because I think if companies want to run their business in a stupid manner, they should be free to do it.
Yes.
To obviously to a degree. Now you got a publicly traded company and you got other things on there. But Andrew Bailey is saying, and I suspect completely rightfully, this flies in the face of the anti-discrimination laws, not just in Missouri, but federally as well.
Yeah. Like Napoleon said, never interrupt an enemy when they're making a mistake. But at the same time, there's a line between this is something we want to do as a company that we think is going to be good. And we are doing this to basically discriminate and cut a portion of people from being able to participate in a business. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that sort of thing.
Right. Precisely. And with, for instance, you look at, we mentioned Target a second ago, and it's funny because we don't really talk about Bud Light anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of Bud Light's problem. Nobody talks about Bud Light anymore.
Yeah.
With the Dylan Mulvaney thing, that cost them billions.
Oh yeah. They had to shut down plants.
Oh, completely. And it's funny because Bud Light started trying to buy people off to get them to support them again. They bought like Kid Rock off.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, well, Bud Light, you got Americans making you got Americans making Yingling too.
Mm-hmm.
You got Americans making other beers as well. And so they're trying to buy people back.
Yeah.
And it's not working. Something happened in the market. Now, the difference here is that, did Bud Light violate any laws or anti-discrimination when they decided to partner up with this weirdo dude? No, nothing they did was illegal, but it was monumentally stupid. And it flew in the face of the values, what there are left in this country. And people said, that's enough. So with Starbucks right here, what Andrew Bailey is arguing is it violating the law, but it also is it violating the values of what we have that says just hire the best people involved. Whereas Starbucks says, well, just because we make it a goal to promote people of color and women doesn't mean we're discriminating against people. We just want the best person for the job, as long as they're women or people of color.
Yeah. And so now this is relevant in a lot of ways to me as well. Because I'm a young guy, I'm white male, but the way that I conceptualize it to people that are like, well, DEI is not a big deal. Why are right wing people so mad? It comes down to the fact. So let's say a new spot opens up at the radio station.
Sure.
If the owners say, hey, Gabe Pfeiffer, Chris Arps, you guys and Jerome, you guys are the contenders, and one of those two gets the show, I'm not going to be upset because they have the credentials, the qualifications, they're established. But if they say we need a board operator for this new show, I love Gabe, but he's very clear. He does not know how to press these buttons. He can launch a rocket, but he can't press these buttons. I would have no, if they still got the job, despite the fact that they don't know how to run a board.
Representation matters, Jerome.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I'm sorry, Gabe. And Chris, Chris, your shirt's on the way, but that's the big difference. Is nobody on the right should be at least arguing about this when it comes to qualifications, but when it comes to things like that, that's where Starbucks and these other companies are going wrong.
Yeah, completely. And it's costing him in a big way. We'll see what the courts say about this. All right, let's get into the information segment just a little bit early here, because we're going to talk to Matt Chambers at 7:30 regarding what this winter weather is going to look like, because it's going to hit in about 30 minutes or so.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Travel conditions changing rapidly through the morning as snow and sleet marches in from the west. Roads could turn slick in a hurry. Be careful out there. Temps steady in the low 30s through the day with that mix of mainly snow and sleet around the St. Louis metro area, totaling about 1 to 3 inches, with more possible to the northwest before this shuts down late this afternoon and this evening. Turns colder tonight, down to 18, and then Thursday's dry but chilly. 27 for the high tomorrow. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Hey, if you're 50 or older, you do not want to take any risk with your money. In fact, you want Leslie Consulting. My friend Bob Leslie can show you a gain and retain plan. Means that you never lose. Plus, you get up to a 20% bonus on day one. Leslie Consulting, a leader in brokerage and risk management. 314-721-0066. LeslieConsulting.com.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers. Valentine's is coming, and Vincent's has lab-grown diamonds. Give the gift that outlasts flowers, chocolates, or dinner. Vincent'sJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
Chuck Schumer decided to call for whistleblowers to come forward. Tell them how Trump, Musk, and Doge are abusing the law. You think that you or your agency got targeted by Doge for retaliation? Contact the Chuck Schumer Whistleblower Hotline. If you suspect Trump must be guilty of fraud, contact the Chuck Schumer Hotline. Chuck Schumer said, I'm calling on all of our brave public servants. Contact the hotline. And I'm sure when Chuck came up with this idea, he was expecting government whistleblowers to rain down on him. In a way, they did, but not what he expected. Rather than blowing the whistle on Trump, Musk, or Doge, you got mockers, not whistleblowers, but mockers. As an example, Musk said, I want to blow the whistle on the Schumer guy. He's done some dirty things. Senator Ted Cruz, I want to report Joe Biden, Harris, and Schumer for corruption. That's not exactly what Schumer had in mind, was it? He should have paid attention to the Irish poet Oscar Wilde when he stated, when the gods want to punish us, they grant us our prayers and wishes.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
I can tell you how to get a free quick quiz to see how artificial intelligence can boost your company's potential. You go to priglobal.ai, priglobal.ai. St. Louis Business Magazine listing PRI as one of the leading IT companies, and PRI has its own AI lab to develop what your business needs. priglobal.ai, priglobal.ai.
Riders on the storm.
All right, what is this round of winter weather going to look like? Looks like it's going to be here maybe the next 30 minutes, maybe the next hour. Matt Chambers from KMOV's got the updated forecast for us. I'm Mike Ferguson, got Jerome in for Stell today, and Matt joins us right now. Matt,
morning, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Well, you tell us. I'm safe. I'm here. So I got in, super super early because of the weirdo jobs that we have here. But we know this isn't going to be the thing that we had this last round. But what do we?
Goodness for that.
Oh my goodness, yeah. So what do we need to brace ourselves for this time, Matt?
It's kind of a quick shot, sort of a wham bam system here, especially compared to, as you referenced, Mike, the just nonstop snow and sleet that we had for about a day and a half in early January. I'm seeing the leading edge of the snow with a little sleet mixed in, just now scooting into places like Rolla, Bowling Green. So this still isn't in metropolitan St. Louis, but I'd say between now and about 10 a.m., that story changes. And honestly, my biggest concern here is as we've been watching the MoDOT cameras out in Columbia and back around Kansas City, it didn't take very long at all for the roads to get covered up after this snow sleet mix started to fall. So my biggest message as we're still out ahead of this thing is to expect rapidly changing travel conditions anywhere from about 9 this morning until about lunchtime. It's difficult to know if our roads will react in the same way they did over western Missouri. Our pavement temperature is just a little bit warmer, but still I'm concerned about certainly some slick roads developing here late this morning into the afternoon as the leading edge of this rolls in very, very shortly.
Now, what about the mix? Because I was looking at your forecast online just a little bit ago, and it looks like the farther north, we've got more snow, maybe in the metro area itself, more of that wintry mix. Does that still kind of holding true, or what are you seeing right now?
100%. Yeah, that forecast you're looking at is up to date. I would say the northwestern corner of your listening area, we're way up there in northern Lincoln and Pike counties. They're going to take home the trophy today for deepest snow. There's a chance of anywhere from 2 to maybe as much as 5 inches of snow up there. Around metropolitan St. Louis, the reason we're not going heavier with the snow totals is some sleet's going to mix in. And that sleet basically takes up a lot less volume than the snow does. It can still make things slick, obviously, but we're thinking across the metro area, kind of along the I-44 corridor in Missouri and I-70 in Illinois. It's kind of a 1 to 3 inch slushy mix of sleet and some snow, but certainly that's enough to make things slick. The good news is I feel like I see the threat for freezing rain and the geographic area for freezing rain today kind of shrinking a little bit. I think there's a narrow window on the southeast side of the listening area that could have a little bit of liquid rain falling when it's 31, 32 degrees. But down there, the temperatures are probably going to pop up to 33 or 34 this afternoon, which then kills that threat. So I'm not overly concerned about like a glaze of ice in metropolitan St. Louis. I'd be focused more on the sleet and the snow, just making the roads pretty dicey out there.
Yeah, so basically it sounds like use some common sense, and for the most part we should be okay. So be cautious, but it doesn't sound like this is something that should really alter our lives a whole lot if we use some common sense.
It's not a crippling snowstorm. There's no doubt about it. If you can avoid travel or at a minimum limit it from mid to late morning until around evening drive time, that'll give the road crews a chance to really kind of get a grip on this thing. I think as it shuts down right around evening drive, there's still potential for some ugliness on the roads there. But I think overnight tonight, road crews will hit it hard. And hopefully by tomorrow morning, while it's cold, really cold on the backside of this system, teens tomorrow morning, I think the roads will be in pretty decent shape.
We're visiting with Matt Chambers from KMOV. And then after this, is it fairly clear? So the road crews should be able to get this out of the way in the next 24, 48 hours, and hopefully we can just kind of go back to normal.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think it'll probably stick on untreated surfaces through the daytime Thursday. My high tomorrow is only 27. So although we will be mostly sunny, so the snow will help a little bit. But if you get a couple of inches of accumulation today, or maybe even a little bit more, it's probably going to stick through the day Thursday. But then Friday, Valentine's Day, I've got us up to near 40. Saturday, some rain showers coming through that would wash away anything that's left at that point. But to your point about more active weather, I will tell you, I think that rain I mentioned on Saturday could end as a little bit of light accumulating snow Saturday night into Sunday. And there is yet another system to watch Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. I don't think that one's a huge monster at this point either, but it's just, it's another symptom of this really active February pattern we're stuck in.
Has been. All right, Matt Chambers from KMOV. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate the update.
You bet. Stay safe out there, everybody.
All right. Basically use common sense and we'll be okay. And then we got to get through the weekend. And now Matt's telling us we may have another round of it. I don't like that. That's not what I wanted. He said, Friday or so Thursday, he said the high was going to be about 29. I was going to offer him $1 to make it a little warmer than that, but
round up.
Round it up just a little bit there. All right. So we're getting, we had some comments a little bit earlier on social media, for instance, about an hour ago, saying that there was snow moving through, like, for instance, Kingdom City. And so now we're seeing Rolla and some of those areas as well. And so essentially this is going to be something that is going to affect probably your morning drive, at least the later part of the morning drive.
Yeah, if you're a tailgater, just give them a few extra inches.
Yeah, or don't be a tailgater.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I do. One of the things that was pointing out is that we've had such warm temperatures. I mean, we were in the 60s not too long ago.
Yeah.
So we don't have frozen ground. So I think hopefully it looks like this is going to hit us, be here for a day or so. The big question is going to be, how will the road crews respond this time? Because that's, that they are on guard. They are just worried about, let's not F this up the way that we did last time. Because it wasn't just the city.
No.
There were the county, the suburbs, St. Charles County. They were catching a lot of flack on the county roads as well. But essentially, it looks like, so we're looking at, based on what Matt was saying, so we're looking at 30 to 60 minutes from right now, this rolling into the area. So if you get into work a little bit early, you're not going to have to worry about it, or wait and come in later and you won't have to really worry about it. But it sounds like it is going to be kind of messy throughout the day today.
Yeah, and if you know anybody in your neighborhood that shovels snow or has a snow plow, you might want to reach out to them. You offer them some hot cocoa or something. That way your street will be completely fine by the time you get off.
And what you put in the hot cocoa is completely up to you. No judgment here. I'm just saying whatsoever. All right. Yeah, but it sounds like it's going to be a little bit more of a thing than maybe originally we thought it was a couple days ago, because we saw this forecast coming in, and it's weird because I'm kind of inclined now to go, yeah, let's wait and see. And that's kind of what we did. And so now we're looking at something. It's going to create a mess. Somebody's going to overdo it, and somebody's going to slide off the road and rear into somebody else. We know it's going to happen because somebody isn't going to use common sense,
because they're not listening to the Mike Ferguson in the morning show,
or they listen and just say, screw you, Mike. I am not going to use common sense.
You can't tell me what to do, Mike.
That's
You're
right.
not my dad.
That's right. I'm a libertarian like you. I'm going to drive like a madman.
Well, all I got to say is, I drive a blue Jeep. And so if you rear end me, if you hit me, if you clip me, we are going to have some words, and I'm going to say the meanest things about you on air that I could possibly legally say. So
that's right.
You don't want that to happen. Drive safe around me.
Yeah, precisely. All right. So yeah, appreciate that update. And of course, KMOV.com is where you're going to stay up to date. They've got a really good app on their for weather app as well. And so appreciate Matt coming on board to do that. Of course, then you got that, and still this flu stuff going around. It's really not even just flu. And on cue, I'm fighting off a cough right now myself, and it's the flu, RSV, and COVID. So it's all going around. And one thing that I was kind of reflecting on the last couple of days or so is that, do we know everybody who's sick? Do we know what the individual thing is we have? No, probably not. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've just got the flu, or I had the flu. I'm on the mend. I think hopefully by the weekend I've completely worked all this out, and I'll come back, at full strength on Monday is probably the best case scenario. I have made an executive decision. I am not going to old man baseball practice this afternoon. I'm just saying.
Probably for the best. Well, if you're going to go to an opposing team's practice instead. Don't.
It's a whole league wide.
Oh.
It's open to everybody. We rent this big field house from 3:00 to 5:30 on Wednesdays, and then we rent it on Saturday nights from 8 to 10. And then there's another practice on Friday nights that is at a different place. But like today, I was going to go normally to the practice, and I'm surprised at how many guys can get out there at 3:00 in the afternoon on Wednesday. It's a lot of fun. It's in Afton. So if you're feeling up to it and you want to throw a baseball around, just go to Center St. Louis in Afton. You can go there. But I'm like, you know what? I'm resting up the rest of the week to do this here.
Yeah, I'm working on the truce I'm making with the viruses around here right now, but we're doing a ceasefire, hopefully.
Man, and the thing is, at some point is just, you feel like crap. It's just your body recovering. I mean, right. I feel like crap right now, but I'm recovering. This hit me last Thursday, so it's been a week now. I'm pretty sure that I'm not spreading anything at this point anymore, but I just feel like crap, and it sounds bad, and we'll get through it. So I appreciate everybody's been really cool on like social media. It's like, you got this, Mike, hang in there, and say that and then fall apart. And Jerome, appreciate you jumping in and filling in because we've got so many people who are out. I mean, it was crazy. And we're not the only business that's doing this, but it was just crazy how this has hit through the St. Louis area. But back to the point I was going to make a little bit earlier is, nobody's freaking out. Can you imagine if this were happening 3 years ago?
We would have all been locked down right now.
We would have been locked down, and we would have been yelling and screaming at each other because we had been conditioned to be angry or scared of, like, The Walking Dead, had we not, gone to these extreme insanity sort of approaches to things. And so at least people have gotten back to normal. I mean, last Thursday, I'm leaving work and I stop up at the convenience store and I just grab a thing of Dayquil, I grab a thing of NyQuil and just normal conversation. The lady's checking me out there and I'm like, yeah, I think I got that stuff going around. Her reaction was not to run away. Nobody was wearing masks. She's like, oh, well, get feeling better. That was it. Normal life. So maybe we've conquered the Sam Pages and we've conquered the Tashara Joneses and unfortunately to some degree the Mike Parsons, because remember he did shut down the state for a little bit and issue that stay-at-home order. And so I think people have kind of gotten back to a normal mindset that goes, yeah, it's flu season. That's the way it goes.
See, and this might just be a millennial thing, but I don't necessarily blame people for the initial freak out. And I mean, now with what we know at the way behind the scenes, that they knew that they just misrepresented to us, I can never forgive that. But for the average person, shutting down temporarily, I can see that big a thing. It's for how long they continued it, for the narrative going. That's what I really had the issue with. I blame the so-called health officials and government officials and media for becoming hyper nuts and scaring people. After a little while, I start blaming people for not seeing the truth or for not questioning the narrative. Because it was there. It's been how many months and we're still not getting better? What's going on here?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
So at this point, though, we've got a rough flu season that's happening right now, and people are not clamoring for government to do something, which tells me that across the board, we've generally probably learned our lesson here, which is really good and probably very frustrating to the hard left.
Yeah, I think anybody rational that really sort of took issue, looking into the medicine, what was, people say, oh, holistic, that's all junk. Well, no, nature has provided so many ways for us to keep healthy and safe for thousands of years. Garlic, onions, ginger root, stuff like that all naturally is there to help us. And the more that I go towards that sort of lifestyle, instead of just going and running and getting, over the counter stuff, the more I legitimately just feel better. So hopefully this is a new renaissance in the way we appreciate our health.
Yep. All right. 314-912-1019. Got a lot more ground to cover here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
There's a killer on the road. His brain is squirming like a toad. Take a long holiday.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me vent here.
Live and local.
Way to be, guys. 1019 all the way.
This is News Talk STL.
I am home.
All right. I'm not about to tell you about just a new gym in the area. I am talking about Ignite Performance and Health. Mike Ferguson here for Ignite. This is a medical clinic. Yes, it's a private gym, but this is run by real physicians and expert coaches who work together to ignite your transformation. Let me tell you what I'm not going to do. We're not going to mess around with just saying, hey, try the new gym, give it a few weeks and you'll have a lot of fun. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about, I get it. You know what? You got to get your kids through junior high and high school and off into college. You got to get the business up and running. You got to care for your folks. You got to do all those life projects. And what happened is you ended up not prioritizing your own health, and it's time to make up for that. Well, Ignite Performance and Health, they are serious about this with real medicine, with real science. They offer integrative nutrition coaching. They offer private strength training. They've got great facilities, great coaching, but they also offer the medicine, testosterone and estrogen-based hormone replacement therapy administered by doctors, weight loss medicine to reset your relationship with food. So get in touch with them today. IgnitePAH.com, IgnitePAH.com, IgnitePAH.com. Get your free vitamin B shot and get your free consultation. Because with Ignite Performance and Health, real change starts here. Visit them today. They're at 14830 Clayton Road in Chesterfield. Listen, I've been there. It's got it's not about the gym. It's a great gym, great modern facilities, everything you would possibly need. But what's happening is they are working with you from a medical perspective. They are working with you from a doctor's perspective. Give them 6 months with the medicine, with the coaching, with the expertise. You are going to be empowered to put yourself first, make up that ground that you've lost over the years with your health. And you know what? At some point, we've all done it. So if you're serious about making that investment in you, then give them a visit today. IgnitePAH.com. Tell them you heard Mike talking about him on the radio.
Attention St. Louis small business owners. Dive into the power of video with Blue Ocean Media Group. We create affordable, eye-catching content that makes waves on social media and strengthens your brand. Don't let big budgets hold you back. Our professional team delivers pro quality at small business prices. Boost your online presence, engage customers, and watch your business grow. Visit blueomg.com today to start your video journey. That's blueomg.com.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Congratulations to the awesome team at Connor Roofing for earning the 2024 National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction. Connor Roofing has now won back-to-back honors because they do outstanding work in all types of roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. We chose Connor Roofing without telling the owners, Rob and Kathy Connor. Their customer reviews are some of the best in the country. Please read them. Visit ConnorRoofing.com and request an estimate. Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here with Eric from Newstetter's Fine Jewelers. Eric, Newstetter's not one of those giant, big, sterile, big box stores, is it?
Nope. Newstetter's Fine Jewelry is a family-owned local tradition since the 60s. We're a full-service jeweler that does on-site repair as well as custom creations. We don't sell jewelry. We sit and listen to find out exactly what you truly desire in fine jewelry and give you an education so you'll fall in love with your piece for a lifetime.
Newstetter's Fine Jewelers at wowdiamonds.com. That's Newstetter's Fine Jewelers, wowdiamonds.com.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
I told the world one day I would pay it back. Say it'll take the leg, record it so that one day I can play it back. I don't even know if I believe it when I'm saying that.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
This is kind of interesting here. I thought we settled this whole red light camera thing a while back on the Missouri side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it turns out that there are some municipalities that are trying to bring them back.
Of course.
Yeah, but the courts have ruled on this. This is really, really bizarre. I found this, a couple of news reports on this here. By the way, it's 7:51. I'm Mike Ferguson, and I got Jerome in for Stell today. So here's the plan. Let me just kind of lay out the plan here. As I'm sure everybody who's been listening to talk radio in St. Louis knows, we're not the only ones out there, but just the flu bug and the flu and RSV and whatever season is just kind of run crazy through St. Louis, including us here. So it looks like we're going to get Gabe back tomorrow, probably get Stell back tomorrow.
Woo.
Yes. Vic and Ken are already back. I think they're in studio today, but I think they're doing their live out at where are they going? Jules on Hampton, I think tomorrow, maybe that is. That's tomorrow, Friday.
I know they announced it. I just
Yeah.
sometimes you don't catch all the information.
No, exactly.
Especially when you're on cold medicine.
Yeah, precisely. Especially the good stuff. Which by the way, I'm overdue. So that's the thing. I was going to do a shot during the Kofifi dance at 7:00.
Do we have to go back an hour?
No, we can't do that.
CGI it in.
I was my I don't think my mom got the joke, because she was checking, hey, how you feeling? And I said, yeah, I doing, shots
Doing
of
shots at work.
Dayquil. And she's like, well, be careful on the roads. I'm like, well, I've been usually I'm the DDD. I'm the Dayquil designated driver. So, hitting the hard stuff on there. But actually, it's probably a good sign that I've gone about an hour over my last dose and not needed to get in there and grab another one. But I'm probably need to reset myself just to get through the rest of the morning here.
Oh, yeah, we have a whole nother hour, don't we?
Yep, we do.
Not that I'm complaining.
No, but get this. There's a bill that's been filed in the state Senate that would ban red light cameras and license plate reading cameras throughout the state.
So I remember several months ago that the reason why it was shot down originally was because they cannot confirm who's driving the vehicle,
Correct.
and
Right.
therefore it was a violation of privacy. Then they said, well, we're
Due
going
process. Yep.
we're going to angle the camera in such a way that we can now detect who's driving behind there, and this huge outroar. But I didn't know if that had been overruled or not.
Yeah, and here's the thing is that the courts were pretty clear about this a few years ago. Several years ago, actually. So I'm actually surprised that there are still red light cameras anywhere, or because there are some cities, like I'm looking at the article here. Is this Channel 2 or KST? It says local leaders have been advocating for the return of red light cameras on city streets after they were decommissioned in 2015, an effort to hold drivers accountable for traffic violations. So I remember, for instance, I was on a board of aldermen back in, it was before 2015. But this is when these companies were coming to you and what they were doing. Here's how it would work. But at least this is how it worked in the city I was on the board of aldermen, to which I was elected. And they said, we'll pay for the camera to go up. We'll pay for the processing. We'll pay to send out all the citation. We'll pay for all of it. City doesn't have to put out a penny, but we get 50% of the fine.
Ooh,
That's how they sold it.
that sounds like it could be ripe for racketeering.
Well, of course. And of course, but part of the deal was that you had to rewrite your ordinances to assume the guilt of the driver or the car owner. And they would have to prove themselves innocent because that was easier. And I remember objecting to that, saying, wait a minute, even if we're just talking about a red light ticket, the idea of guilty until proved or innocent until proven guilty is a constitutional principle in this country. And we shouldn't just wipe it away because, it's just a traffic ticket and it's not even going to affect their insurance. And I objected to that.
Good.
And I ended up losing the vote very narrowly.
Wow.
And then the courts agreed with my perspective. I didn't sue, but part of the reason, and attorney at the time, Eric Schmidt, was fighting this as well. But that was part of the reasoning that they struck these from the state.
So you were partially responsible.
No. I just, in my city, and I was no, I didn't. I mean, but the argument that I used is also the argument that was used in the court's decisions. I didn't have anything to do with the case, but I felt vindicated. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the city management basically was like, hey, it's free money. Stop. We don't want to have to raise taxes someday for something. This is free money. If they run the red light, then they got to pay. Stop, Mike, stop. And I'm like, no, you can't run government that way. And eventually the courts saw it the same way. And so now what you have are some city leaders in some areas that are saying, we'll bring these back. Now, in the city of St. Louis, they don't have police to go around.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying, well, give us red light cameras. At least then we can send out tickets. But then again, who do you send the ticket to? Because you're violating due process. And you may say, but you're putting the city in an untenable position. No, the city is putting itself in an untenable position because they won't hire the police officers to adequately patrol the streets. It's the city leadership's fault. It goes back to the defund the police mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And red light cameras have been ruled unconstitutional in the state of Missouri. So when you've got city municipal leaders trying to bring them back, understand they're trying to bring back something that's been ruled blatantly unconstitutional.
That violates both your Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights in the way that they would practically work.
Yeah. And so the fact that they had, that you have to update your ordinances should be all the tell that you need.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the little tiny things people say, well, it's just not that important. You don't like it, then don't run a red light camera or don't run a red light. Well, first of all, don't run a red light.
But they can still be rigged in a way where, that's what they do in Chicago. The yellow light is so much lower than the green and red, and then now you're running lights by accident.
Right. Exactly. So, so that's out there. Once again, there's always a call to get more of your money. And what they want to do is just make it to where it's not worth it to fight it. Just pay the stupid fine and be done with it. But you're chipping away at your constitutional protections, even on little tiny things like this. Eventually adds up. So don't go there. Don't go there.
Hey, it's Vic. Are you worried about rising taxes? Well, you're not alone. With government spending outpacing revenue, many Americans fear a tax hike is on the horizon. But here's the good news. You have options. Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management specializes in tax-efficient strategies for income planning, legacy, and growth. Chris knows your money will go to one of three places: the government, healthcare, or your family and charities. Shouldn't your loved ones come first? Don't let Uncle Sam be your biggest beneficiary. Take control of your financial future today. Visit SerenityNowTax.com for your free copy of Chris's book, The New Holistic Retirement. Serenity Wealth Management, because you deserve peace of mind in retirement. Request your free book today at SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com to get your free copy of The New Holistic Retirement. That's SerenityNowTax.com. Serenity Now with Chris Cooper.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.
Larry Connors here, and I'm heading to southern Italy for a tour of the most beautiful coastline in the world, the Amalfi Coast. I want you to join me. We'll travel for 11 magical days with professionals from Conservative Tours. They're the best tour operators in Italy. Conservative Tours, an A+ rating with the BBB. $54.88 is your cost. That includes airfare from St. Louis, luxury hotels, dining events you'll remember for years. Call 888-733-9494 or go to conservativestours.com. Join me next spring in Italy on the Isle of Capri, just $54.88, including airfare from St. Louis. 888-733-9494 or go to conservativetours.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the News Talk STL app.
Love the News Talk STL app.
YHD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Inflation heated up last month. The bottom line of the government's just released inflation report card for January, the Consumer Price Index. Prices rose 3% last month from a year ago. That was up from a 2.9% increase in December. Last month, the cost of groceries, gas, used cars all rose.
Inflation's recent uptick is a major reason the Federal Reserve has paused its interest rate cuts after 3 of them last year. Yesterday, Fed Chair Jerome Powell testified before a Senate committee.
We do not need to be in a hurry to adjust our policy stance.
In January 2024, prices jumped sharply, largely because many companies raised prices at the beginning of the year. With inflation still elevated, consumers are more price sensitive than a year ago. George Williams reporting.
From the Russian Big House to America's White House, Pennsylvania teacher Mark Fogel released from a Russian prison. He's been welcomed home by President Trump at the White House. Moscow says a Russian citizen was freed in exchange for Fogel. President Trump says another American will be released today. Appearing together in the Oval Office, the president and Elon Musk defending their overhaul of the federal government.
The president said they've already discovered
billions and billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse.
And Musk described the work as democracy in action.
The people voted for major government reform. And that's what people are going to get. They're going to get what they voted for.
Both men alleged fraud and abuse inside the government without evidence, and the president urged courts not to block their work. Greg Clugston, Washington.
America could get a new national intelligence director today. A Senate confirmation vote is due on nominee Tulsi Gabbard. Wall Street futures are plunging following that hotter than expected inflation report for January. The Dow futures now down 409 points. NASDAQ futures off 223 and the S&P futures 59 points in the red. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
My doctor told me my blood pressure is borderline. I figured I could worry about it or do something about it. So I took control with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula. It works safely and naturally to help maintain healthy blood pressure with a custom blend of garlic, vitamins, and minerals. And it's odor-free. I'm taking charge with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Travel conditions changing rapidly through the morning as snow and sleet marches in from the west. Roads could turn slick in a hurry. Be careful out there. Temps steady in the low 30s through the day with that mix of mainly snow and sleet around the St. Louis metro area, totaling about 1 to 3 inches with more possible to the northwest before this shuts down late this afternoon and this evening. Turns colder tonight down to 18, and then Thursday's dry but chilly. 27 for the high tomorrow. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Winter's coming, and your family's comfort can't wait. Johnson Heating and Cooling, where family protects family. Owners Tracy and Sean Johnson don't just install equipment, they safeguard your home. From new construction to existing homes, we're your trusted experts in furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps. Don't risk dangerous gas leaks or unexpected breakdowns. Get your heating system professionally checked now. Call 636-332-4141 or visit johnson-heatingandcooling.com.
Agree.
I think conservatives have it wrong.
Or disagree.
I couldn't agree with you more.
The conversation happens here.
I agree with you on Trump. I'm shaking my head. I'm one of your liberal Democratic listeners, and I don't get why any of this even matters.
Because your voice matters.
Everybody told him he couldn't do it, and then he did do it. That's what you got to do. You got to play hardball.
I want to hear what people are thinking and be able to talk about it.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
This is the kind of adventure I usually have to force upon us, and here it is, falling into our laps.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
They're buying it.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
Watch a couple squats, son.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin God.
All right, getting around town going to become a little bit tricky. Well, probably kind of any time now here. You got some updates that you can safely let me know? Then let me know. 314-912-1019 or let me know on we're watching. I've got Rumble up in front of me. What do you have access to up there?
I've got access to it all. I'm on StreamYard.
You're on Stream. Okay, so Facebook or any of those, right?
Yep.
All right, so
except for X, we cannot see X for some reason on here, but we do see them that people tune in. So thank you to everybody on X. We just can't pin your comments, sadly.
Okay, got it. So if you do have some condition updates, let me know. It's not going to be that big of a deal today, but just enough to take note of here. We'll get into that in just a minute. Also, one judge says no, then another says yes. The bottom line is this: St. Louis County voters, you are going to decide Proposition B. So let's get into that. By the way, I was just asked about, we were talking about the red light cameras. I was asked about the license plate reading cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting question. That's actually part of the bill that was filed that I was talking about. So let's do that around like 8:20 or so. Let's have that conversation.
Sounds good to me.
I think it's and the Cardinals are back in Jupiter to get ready for the 2025 campaign. Everybody who's excited about that, raise your hand. Anyone? Nope. Bueller? No. All right. It's 8:06 right now. Let's dump some news on you here.
Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
All right, we just talked to Matt Chambers from Channel 4 about a half hour ago. Here's what's going on. Another round of winter weather moving through the area this morning, and it's going to start kind of nipping at our heels here in just a little bit. Channel 4 tells us to expect a mix of snow and sleet, kind of an overall, and he kept kind of going back, Jerome, to saying basically slushy conditions.
That sounded about right.
Yeah, and so slushy conditions that are going to start up pretty much any time now, and it's going to last at least until 4 p.m., could hang around as late as 6 p.m., and then after that, it's going to be cold, but we've had enough notice, and the accumulation really shouldn't be that much, so it shouldn't be terrible out there. So use a little common sense, and you ought to be fine, but give the cars in front of you a little more space, head to work just a little bit early, and you should be in good shape. But we'll keep you updated throughout the day here. All right, St. Louis County voters are going to decide the fate of... crap. How's that for radio professionalism? All right. St. Louis County voters are going to decide the fate of Proposition B. After all, one judge struck it down from the ballot on Tuesday, and then an appeals court reversed that decision hours later. By the way, when Sam Page doesn't want you to vote on something, it usually means that he knows he's going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where we're at. So Proposition B is the proposed charter amendment that would, if you approve it, give the county council the ability to fire executive department heads and also, frankly, fire the county prosecutor with a supermajority vote. So Sam Page does not want that to happen. Well, why? Because he likes to keep his fiefdom in place. And Sam Page, as we know, basically wants to rule St. Louis County as a monarch, and he throws a temper tantrum and stomps his feet whenever he's not allowed to. And voters, including Democratic voters, have said over and over and over, no, Sam, you have to be restrained by the restraints on government. And he doesn't like that. So Proposition B would allow the county council with a supermajority vote to fire department heads that he appoints if they're not doing their job. Because otherwise, they just got the good old boys network, and they can keep sopping up the money all they want.
Yeah, whenever a politician doesn't want the people to be able to make decisions about how they're governed, that's usually a time where you want to get involved and make sure you have that right to govern.
Yeah, precisely. There are things that should not be up for votes. This is changing the county government to enact more checks and balances. Matter of fact, we talked to County Councilman Dennis Hancock a little bit earlier today. We will probably have that up on our podcast a little bit later on today. But he really laid out the case for this pretty well. All right. President Trump was being interviewed by reporters in the Oval Office on Tuesday, right before signing an executive order to cut the federal workforce. And he was going to sign that one after findings uncovered by the Department of Government Efficiency as part of the effort to save, frankly, taxpayer funding. The president says his decision to investigate and make those cuts from the federal organizations is not done, and they're going to look into basically everything else.
When you look at USAID, that's one. We're going to look at the military. We're going to look at education. They're much bigger areas, but the USAID is really corrupt.
And of course, you've heard a federal judge recently blocking some of those executive orders from going into place. That doesn't mean that they're stopped. It just means that a judge is going to have to make a hearing on a case to see whether or not the president has the authority to shut down some of this spending or end some of the corrupt stuff that they're finding. I think what we're going to probably find is that for the most part, I think Donald Trump's executive orders are going to stand as written. All right. St. Louis left-wing activists have set up a hotline to warn people about possible immigration enforcement in the metro area. This should piss you off.
Of course.
I mean, unbelievable. The Immigrant Service Providers Network, STL, says that the so-called rapid response line is designed to document possible ICE activity and connect anybody who is detained or arrested for being in the country illegally with legal and other resources. So basically, if you see ICE, you see Customs and Border Patrol, you see some kind of detail that's looking for somebody who's in the country illegally, let us know. We'll warn everybody so that the people who are in the country illegally can hide and not be held accountable for their for being in the country illegally.
Charge these people with treason and watch how quickly they stop that nonsense behavior.
Yeah, and at the very least, let's say somebody says, man, Jerome, treason, boy, you're jumping right to the extreme there. But how about this? How about aiding and abetting criminals?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Tom Homan, Donald Trump, ICE, they've all made it very clear. We are starting with the violent illegal aliens. That's who we're looking for. People who are committing and victimizing other people. So if you're saying, tell us so we can warn them, you're basically saying, let us help the criminals protect themselves. So screw you. We want to leave your community at risk of these people because we're so committed to illegal immigration. We're so committed to protecting illegal aliens in this state.
And to your point, if you fail to pay child support enough times, they will drag you into court. And so why would you be okay with setting up a network of, hey, you haven't paid any child support, the bounty hunter or the law's coming after you, get out of town? Like, what other sorts of people would anybody in their right mind say, hey, I'll tip them off so they can avoid punishment for their actions?
Yeah. And so that's what passes for virtue signaling on the left these days. All right. The Trump administration's efforts to root out that corruption in Washington's bureaucracy, as I mentioned, facing dozens of legal challenges, of course, effectively halting a number of Donald Trump's executive orders, at least for the moment. Including those aimed at shrinking the federal workforce and freezing some government funds. Texas Congressman Chip Roy, Republican, was on Fox's The Ingram Angle. He says the president's being treated unfairly by the courts, at least so far.
In the last administration, Joe Biden literally put out executive orders telling ICE, you can't even really enforce the law. So criminals can run amok and endanger Americans, but that's okay. But the president of the United States, President Trump, wants to go down and look at Social Security data to make sure it's not being duplicated, so our records aren't being stolen, and so we can be protected, and somehow he's the bad guy.
I'm pretty sure that Trump's legal team knew that these were going to come his way. And it'll probably be a messy sort of process to get through them, but I still think most of his executive orders are going to stand. All right, Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey is suing Starbucks, and he's not just suing them because their coffee sucks. He's accusing the chain of discrimination by engaging in racial and sex-based preferences in hiring, accusing them of unlawfully segregating employees and offering certain training and benefits to specific groups of workers, but not to all of them. The programs that he's referring to in the lawsuits are part of Starbucks' DEI initiatives. The company is denying the accusations. Okay, a couple other things that are happening in the news here. Let's go to, this is interesting. Ukraine strikes a deal with Donald Trump, offering some rare earth minerals in exchange for U.S. military aid in its war against Russia. New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, who's a Republican, tells Fox Business's The Evening Edit with Elizabeth McDonald that the deal aligns with their view of what foreign aid should actually be.
We're looking at foreign aid as something that is strategically important to the United States. We're not going to just hand money out. We're going to make sure that there's an even exchange, that we get something in return for the generosity of the American taxpayers. And look at what Ukraine has to offer. It's the reason Russia wants Ukraine back.
So basically, you've got a situation here where Ukraine is going to be paying for the defense that it's getting and the materials that it's getting. I don't see why anybody would have a problem with that.
That just makes sense.
Yeah. If you've got the ability to buy it, then buy it. There's nothing wrong with that. And yes, I think we have a vested interest in pushing Russia back into its own space. But there's nothing wrong with saying, all right, Ukraine, pay up. So they're going to be paying for that. That's a good thing. All right. Spring training is underway for the Cardinals. Pitchers and catchers reported to Jupiter on Tuesday. And I'll say it before. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Expectations for the team this year, I would say between ankle and knee high at this point. Just don't expect much from the Cardinals this year. They have made it very clear they are not aggressively trying to put a really competitive team on the field.
What a shame.
And I'm saying this after the first day of spring training.
Aw. Hey, maybe they're just that confident in their current roster. Maybe that's a good sign.
Sure. Let's go with that.
Let me be positive.
It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
At Elite Comfort Experts, they don't believe in gimmicks, just guarantees. And now they're teaming up with Amana Heating and Air Conditioning to bring you a 99-year compressor and heat exchange warranty and a 10-year parts and labor warranty on a high new efficiency HVAC system. This exclusive offer is available on qualifying systems installed before April 15th. Choose integrity and quality. Choose Elite Comfort Experts. Call Elite at 636-887-0971 or visit EliteComfortExperts.com. Mention the promo code NewsTalkSTL.
When you've been hurt in an accident, you need a law firm that wins. Onder wins. For over 100 years, Onder Law has been winning for St. Louis. With over $5 billion in negotiated settlements and over $300 million in verdicts, Onder wins. Voted best law firm by STL Today 2 years in a row, Onder wins. Whether it's settlements, verdicts, or awards, Onder wins. If you've been hurt in a car accident, trucking accident, or hurt on the job, Onder Law will get you the money you deserve. At Onder Law, winning is what we do. So when the stakes are high, Onder wins. Call us today for a free consultation. We don't get paid unless we win for you. Dial 314 or 6189 That's 314 or 6189, then all zeros. Or visit us online at onderwins.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine in or carry out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
Okay, we're getting some reports on what's happening with the traffic around town. Our boss Jeff just stopped in saying, I did not realize that they canceled a lot of schools.
I didn't know that either.
It's okay. That was premature. I mean,
Truly.
That seems silly to me. But okay, so Jeff said, he goes, it's almost like a weekend. It's not that heavy of traffic just yet. I mean, it's going to pick up a little bit here. But we actually just had a call a bit ago, right?
Yeah, I wasn't able to get the gentleman's name because the weather likes to mess with our system. But apparently, if you're in the northern area near 61 North, he's saying that there is confirmed that it's very icy, and that's actually he made sure to say it's really bad right now. So be careful if you're driving in that part of the state.
So that's going to be more on the 94.1 part of our listening area up north, as maybe 61. So as you're headed, like maybe if you were headed towards Hannibal.
Yeah, he said 61 North specifically.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, exactly. So be really careful because there's a lot of 2 and 4 lane parts of that area up there. So yeah, so keep those reports coming. 314-912-1019 if you can safely tell us. But so far we're being told that basically outside of that part of that northern area in the St. Louis metro itself, and I have not looked outside since I've been in here yet. I don't think that the roads are really necessarily that bad. And it doesn't look like it's going to be that terrible. So just a little extra time and, give yourself a little extra space and you should be fine.
Well, just to reiterate though, the gentleman that we had on earlier did mention that they are considering rapidly changing conditions between 9 and noon. So right now it looks like it should be fine in the area that we're in, but that's subject to change. So the sooner you get out to go to work or to take care of your chore, the better off you're going to be. It still seems like.
Yeah, precisely. Okay. So we were talking a little bit earlier that there are some municipal leaders, according to this news article I found, they're trying to bring back red light cameras in the state.
Ooh.
Yeah, which have been outlawed for 10 years now. And I was surprised that there was, really anything along those lines, because what's happened is a state senator, Mike Moon, in Missouri's legislature, has filed a bill to prohibit the use of red light. I mean, just put it into law, even though the courts have already struck them down on constitutional grounds, that it would just be illegal for cities to run those. And we had somebody send in a note, what about license plate reading cameras? Well, the law, and I'm glad that question was asked, the law that's being proposed here by Senator Moon would also ban the use of license plate reading cameras as well.
Wow.
I actually saw one of those because some police agencies have cars that are equipped with special cameras.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've got two on the back and they're usually kind of angled out a little bit. Have you seen these before?
Yeah, I've seen job postings too, where you drive around just scanning people's license plates
Right.
and stuff like that as well. I
Yeah.
thought that was bizarre.
Right. And other times they will sometimes set up a camera somewhere, and if you drive through, you get scanned and you get documented and it gets tracked, and that's where you are. And a lot of people in government entities say, no, we need to be able to do that. And to be fair, there have been cases where somebody has found either missing persons, or they have found criminal suspects through the use of like what's called a flock camera, or these license plate reading cameras, and they're able to track, or they've been able to go back with some of these cameras and track and say, well, they were here and here and here and here, and able to put together, some evidence. Okay, so I'm not arguing that there's not a benefit that law enforcement can have with these.
Yes.
My question is, are we willing to make that trade-off? And do we want government to be tracking us that much more? Now, the law typically clearly states that when you are out in public, you have no reasonable expectation of privacy. So a police officer could sit up at the intersection of whatever and whatever, I-70 and First Capitol, and feverishly write down everybody's license plate that drives by and track it.
Mm-hmm.
What this technology does is then load you into a database, and it tells the government your blue Jeep, Jerome, was here going this direction at this time. You're not suspected of anything. They don't need a warrant for it, but they're just going to track it. And then maybe you're going to pull into some other place and there's another camera that tracks you. And eventually what they really hope for is a network of these cameras that essentially tracks everywhere we go.
See, the obvious, elephant in the room with that is that usually if you're going to go after somebody for a crime, you have to witness them committing a crime or have a warrant establishing that a crime's been committed. And the idea of an automated police force, which is essentially what this sort of network would be, one, it's very dystopian, but two, it just sounds like that is against what our constitutional amendments are. Even though we all acknowledge being out in public is a public space, there needs to be something, a safety guard to prevent that sort of police state from essentially being created, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is one of those areas where I think people are missing the point a lot, because what some people are talking about is, okay, the law says this, you do not have an expectation of privacy in public. That's true. So, technically, can a camera get out there constitutionally and say, well, you were here? Sure. But the bigger question, I think this is what people are missing, is what kind of government do we want, and what kind of relationship do we want with government and law enforcement? So if you want to create a network of cameras, what was that movie with Jim Carrey where he was tricked into living in the bubble where everything tracked his entire
Truman Show.
Truman Show. So if you want to live in the Truman Show, that's eventually the kind of mindset some people say, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, then you got nothing to worry about. It's not about what you worry about. It's about who is restraining what.
That's why I absolutely hate that argument, because again, who determines what is right and wrong? There's a moral argument of, the basics of being a decent human being. But again, where I'm from, this was a huge thing that we all know about, is that they can set timers on these traffic lights. So it's green, it's green, it's green, yellow, red, and that period of time, you were still green, but now it's red by the time you're done with it. They have your license plate on camera. And the only scenario I can possibly imagine where this would actually maybe have some good sort of element to it is if in hit and run cases or car accident cases, but you would still need to figure out a way of using that specifically only for that.
Yeah. And the thing is that and maybe we're a little hypocritical because I utilize MoDOT's traffic cameras.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are times when, you know, I'm like, all right, what's the weather looking like today? You know, there's a traffic accident. What's it look like? And they've got real-time cameras that you can go onto MoDOT and look at the highways in St. Louis, in Kansas City, in different parts of the state. And so there is, you know, there's a place we can see what that traffic is. By the way, do you know, when you set your GPS maps or your Google Maps, you set it in your car and you're going to drive somewhere and you say, just take me there. And they can predict almost with uncanny accuracy the minute you're going to arrive there. Do you know how they do that?
By tracking traffic, I'm assuming.
Exactly. I had a meeting years ago when I was working for a public policy organization, and I had a meeting with the then director of MoDOT, and he was explaining how this works. This is kind of creepy, but kind of interesting at the same time. They use what's called metadata. And this is what he was explaining to us, is that your phone has that GPS locator. And so the state pays to access that. Now, in theory, what he told me was, and he told those of us in the room, he said that they're not paying for the identifiable information. So what we were told is that data doesn't tell us that they could look up that I was on I-70 in Wentzville going west or whatever. They said, but what they're doing is they're tracking all of that movement. And then if suddenly all that movement slows down or stops, they know there's been a problem. If all of a sudden dozens or hundreds of vehicles come to a stop or slow down from 70 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour, then they know to dispatch, or they know to take a look, or they know to send somebody out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that makes sense. You know, I get that. And so that's what your GPS data is factoring into, is that metadata, so where they're not measuring how long it's going to take you to get from point A to point B. They're doing the math on how fast everybody else is going along that route. And they're measuring their time from point A to point B to point C to point D.
Which is smart.
Yeah.
But I think the core difference between that is, because I do know that there are law enforcement cases where they have like tracked the person's GPS movements and say, well, this is where we found the victim and this is where you were at, you know, but Google and Apple and all these other companies, those are private entities that are more concerned with getting the data for their product or service and making the revenue that way than they are to charge you or convict you or punish you with tickets and fees like a city or state entity would.
Childless Cat Lady for Trump says, I hear plate readers have helped them find a local felon, which was good. They needed to find him. That's true. And actually there have been multiple people who have been found through these license plate cameras. So that is absolutely true. Then Strocephus says, or documenting people going to church and or gun ranges.
Mm-hmm.
See,
double-edged sword.
Precisely. Or if you want to say, well, they would never do that. Government would never do that. Really? Because in St. Louis County, they set up a snitch line to say, tell us if people are going to their friends' houses, if people are having friends over for, you know, during the lockdown, if businesses are open, if people are going to the park. They have done this. They have abused that. So the double-edged sword is a good way to put it, Jerome, because, you know, as I pointed out, there have been criminal suspects and violent people who have been found through the technology of this sort of thing. But at the same time, we know for a fact that once government has that ability to track and monitor and you know, basically intrude, very little government says no, thank you.
Yes. And it's, again, there are always, well, not always, but in most cases, there's always going to be, here's some good that was done, but here's the horrific side of things that it can totally go this way just as likely. And you know, again, you know, I would hate for the idea that somebody commits a hit and run and then gets away with it because there's nothing there to identify.
No evidence, yeah.
But at the same time, how many of those cases are there compared to how often is somebody going to sit there and say, well, I'm running late because I need to get somewhere to pick somebody up, or I'm rushing to the hospital now because somebody I'm with needs assistance, and I just so happen not to make the light. Now, in this time of need, I'm also having to sit there and worry about, was that a yellow light or was that a red light? Am I going to get, and it's just, I'm not a big fan of a police state in general.
Same.
I would rather that those resources be used to actually getting officers, because we know physical officers deter crime and can actually do more about crime than this digital surveillance state.
Right. All right. 314-912-1019. Interesting stuff there. Interesting stuff. All right. And you got any updates on the conditions out there? Let me know that as well. We're getting ready to turn things over to Vic Porcelli here in about 30 minutes. He and Ken are going to be at Jules on Hampton tomorrow, by the way. I couldn't remember whether it was tomorrow or Friday, but it's tomorrow. They're going to be doing their show live from there, but they're going to be here in studio today.
Well, there you go again, listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Travel conditions changing rapidly through the morning as snow and sleet marches in from the west. Roads could turn slick in a hurry. Be careful out there. Temps steady in the low 30s through the day with that mix of mainly snow and sleet around the St. Louis metro area, totaling about 1 to 3 inches with more possible to the northwest before this shuts down late this afternoon and this evening. Turns colder tonight down to 18, and then Thursday's dry but chilly. 27 for the high tomorrow. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Fox News commentary.
FEMA is accused of shelling out $59 million last week to house illegals in luxury New York City hotels. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Is a god-awful mess, and I'm not sure it can be fixed. The agency is currently under review by the Trump administration and DHS. From avoiding Trump-supporting homes to just overall incompetence, the American people deserve better. It may very well be beyond the point of repair, and that's mostly and seemingly due to some of the people that work for it. Rogue activist types that have infiltrated every government agency and planted roots in the floor. Well, Doge is weed-eating and finding a lot of rot like this. According to Elon, his Doge team uncovered $59 million was allotted by FEMA to fund luxury New York City hotels to house illegals. If this is true, this should make your blood boil, because we've got Americans in North Carolina and Southern California that have lost everything, and yet illegals never seem to get the short end of the stick. They're not paying for any end of the stick, by the way. I'm Tommy Lahren.
Are you sitting on hidden treasure? Manchester Coin and Jewelry wants to turn your valuables into cash. We're Missouri's premier gold buyers and jewelry specialists with years of expertise. We offer top dollar for your coins, antiques, precious metals, and collectibles. From gold and silver to clocks and jewelry, we buy it all. Don't let your treasures collect dust. Let Manchester Coin and Jewelry give you the best value. Visit online at buyingvaluables.net or come see him today at 141 in Manchester and tell him News Talk STL sent you.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite capriati sandwich is the Capistrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love capriatis, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
All your hard-earned tax dollars and mine are going to fund illegal aliens who come across the border penniless, jobless, skillless, and they're given a cell phone, an identity, and a cash stipend every month.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
That beats your Social Security income if you should have the good nature to work your ass off your whole life and retire.
Mark McCloskey on fire. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL. Brought to you in part by Modern Weapon Systems in Fenton. If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
And little Cliffs of Dover with Eric Johnson.
Yeah, I just noticed I was in there, and it's such a beautiful song. I just couldn't go any longer without playing it.
There it is, man. Jerome, again, thank you so much for the last almost this entire week. Just basically pinch hitting for anybody and everybody, since all of us have been knocked on our butts here with the stuff that's going around.
Yeah, I expect all of the Valentine's Day gifts, to be honest. I'm just
I don't
saying,
blame you. Yeah.
I want a big old teddy bear. I want roses. I want all that. Okay.
You are a big old teddy bear. What are you talking about? All right. It is 8:37 right now. Okay. A couple of just interesting things. I'm looking at like all the stuff I put into the news a little bit earlier today and some of the reactions. So, next little bit, let's just kind of go through this, man. We get a lot of conversations going on. That's interesting. It's kind of funny because Righty pointed out, like on the traffic stuff and the cameras and everything, and said, man, Mike, meaning me, I would be a city felon for running stoplights at 3 a.m. at the old place. And so for those of you who are new to News Talk STL, when we first started this radio station, we were downtown at Union Station. And so, yeah, with me going into work as, ridiculously early as morning people do. I think I literally committed 5 to 7 traffic violations every day. Planned. I had no desire to adhere to every stoplight, red light that was out there or stop sign. I just went.
So since we're self-incriminating now,
Yes.
back at this old job I used to work, I was out in the middle of the boonies, and there's this one red light that just never changed for our direction, but we had the most traffic. So yeah, the saying is no cop, no stop. And after you looked around and you just knew, all right, it's been a few minutes. We're just going to go for it. It's 1 a.m. I mean, really, nobody's around. Just that's where I'm coming from. Okay.
Well, here's the thing is I am so glad that we're out here in the county now, because we were you think of all of the media outlets that have been moving out of the city. KMOV moved out of the city. We moved out of the city. The St. Louis Business Journal is moving out of the city. One of the other TV stations is too. I don't remember which one it was. But they're, moving out of downtown, moving out of the city for obvious reasons. And when I was driving in, you can't stop. At 3 o'clock or 3:30 in the morning, driving around St. Louis.
Oh yes.
There are just a few different types of people who are driving around. Okay. There are a few police driving around. There are some early morning media people driving around. And then there's a bunch of bad guys driving around.
Absolutely.
And I had to take evasive measures a couple of times, because that's just what happens at that time of day. I had to go to, see here, what is that exit? Is that 16th that you exit there? You would turn left to go to Enterprise, and then you turn right to go to back to Union Station.
Yes.
So I would exit there and then turn right, and then you'd go up to, where is it there? Is that Shoto? I think it's Shoto at that point. Manchester, I think, becomes Shoto. But and there's that really sketchy gas station convenience store right there. And so you would go up there, and almost always it's 2:45, it's 3:15 in the morning. And of course I see that I'm going to get a red light. I'm not stopping there. And at that location, twice alone, I had to take evasive measures because somebody tried to either box me in or block me.
Yes.
I knew. So basically, not to make it all hyper dramatic or whatever the case is, but those were attempted carjackings.
Yes.
I've never been carjacked in St. Louis. I've never,
yeah.
I've been robbed at gunpoint, but not in St. Louis. But I knew what was happening, and because I had enough distance and just floored it and kept going. But it is one of those things where I wasn't going to stop. And if a cop wanted to pull me over and say, you did come to full and complete stop at that red light, okay, give me the ticket. They never did. There were times where I blew past a cop and they're like, whatever, we get it,
Well, and that's such a good point. I'm glad, because I've had similar experiences where I grew up. I mean, shootings happen all the time, and your instinct is not to sit there and say, well, I need to come to a complete stop at the stoplight. It's, you hear the gunshots, we need to get out of here.
Right, yeah.
And then to then get a ticket and then have to go to court and say, hey, this is what happened, and then hope that a judge believes you or somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just
or the worst case scenario is, here's your fine, $50 for running the red light. Okay.
for your safety,
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take that trade-off. I absolutely will. So, but yeah, the interesting point that was brought up on some of the technology here, for instance, with those, because it was brought up, and I forgot who. We've had so much. We got really a lot going on with the discussion, but with the biometric data, somebody mentioned that's why we ought to be careful with it at the border.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's an interesting point there, because that biometric data is being used on people who are coming into the country for the most part illegally, but also for some people coming in illegally. So the question is if we apply that sort of tracking to people who are not citizens, you're a guest of this country, does that make it any better or less creepy because you're in the country with our permission? Or with the Biden administration, bizarrely, yeah, you're here illegally, but we're going to track you and then let you in anyway.
See, the way that I would rationalize that, and again, I'm a huge supporter of mass deportations, but I'm also a huge supporter of the 4th and 5th Amendment, and not just rounding people up and forcing them to prove themselves citizens, right? So,
right,
I think that if they
those are not in opposition to each other.
Yeah.
Right.
That so in regards to that, I think that there could be a case saying we're looking for what are called coyotes, the people smuggling it in. We know that these are some of the license plates, maybe the states, or maybe we suspect this. And looking for those specific things, I don't think that's an issue. I think that it's a lot different than saying we're looking for people running red lights, because that's so broad and blanketed, and there's so many different reasons why somebody might do that. Versus, oh, hey, this is a suspected vehicle type, or
Right.
suspect. I think if you can narrow it down and make it more specific, and then again with facial recognition stuff, I'm just not a fan of that personally. So I don't even. I'm not smart enough to even comment on that.
We just had the story last week, where there was a guy who was locked up in St. Louis. Channel 2 had the story because a grainy security footage from the Metro was run through an AI program, and they said, oh, that's your guy. Well, wasn't the guy. And he spent 17 months in jail awaiting even a hearing or trial, or even a trial. And then they finally figured out, oh, well, it turns out that there's a body cam that shows that wasn't the guy.
Jeez.
But we trusted the AI and the facial recognition, and it turns out that was wrong. And somebody had the evidence and didn't present it. And some poor guy, now maybe he was guilty of other things, I don't know, but he wasn't guilty of that.
Mhm.
And so this guy ends up in jail because AI and facial recognition was wrong.
Yes.
And so with all the great things we can do with technology, we've got to have the human limitations on it to remember that the purpose of all of this is supposed to be to maximize our freedom, in addition to obviously having a safer community as well.
Now, Straight Up makes a point. He says that he tracks everyone that comes into his house, and illegal invaders are in our home.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that on principle. But again, the line between, are you going to sample and profile every single person that you invite in, and then just, or because you're not just leaving your door open and then tracking people in and out. You are usually inviting people. Illegals are not being invited to come here by the majority of us. So I do think that it's good in sentiment, but I just don't think in theory that works the same way as that we would like it to work.
Bottom line is that with the technologies that we've invented, especially with artificial intelligence building on it faster than what we realize, we have to ask the much bigger questions as to what kind of relationship are we going to have with government? What are we going to allow government not just to do to us or for us, but to track us with?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have to reset those understandings from a governmental perspective, from a citizen perspective, from an ethical perspective, and from a moral perspective, because a lot of people have this mindset that says, well, if it's not explicitly illegal, then it's okay. And I don't think I want to live in that society. We want the point where we say, no, sometimes we voluntarily restrain government even though we know we're taking a little bit of an extra risk in other elements of our lives in order to keep that balance.
Patriot Act, for example.
Oh, totally.
We wanted to feel safer. We let them get away with it. It transpired into all sorts of messed up stuff that we now know. And if it could be used in quote unquote for us, it could be used against us. That's what we need to keep in mind.
See, that's an interesting point, because if the Patriot Act were proposed when if we understood AI back then the way we understand it now, would the Patriot Act have passed? We would have been scared to death.
That's a good question.
Yeah. All right. 314-912-1019. Keep that conversation going. This is fun, everybody.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
I've got a way for you to really dress up your home, and only one guy I'd trust to do it. Michael Proctor, like doctor. Michael will personally examine which drapes, blinds, or shutters will complement your home. He doesn't just measure, he designs, and to make sure it's done right, he will install them. All this saves you money on custom-made drapes, shades, and shutters. Proctor, spelled like doctor. ProctorDrapery.com. ProctorDrapery.com.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
Are you tired of hard chlorinated water drying your skin out, tasting bad, and ruining your fixtures? Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to this pollution. Our Hydratech H2O leaves you with great tasting, soft water at all fixtures in your home with one unit. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit us on the web at joneswater.com. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water, 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
So how's that Missouri Freedom Caucus doing? Well, luckily, the director of that Freedom Caucus just happens to be our afternoon guy, former Speaker Tim Jones. We'll talk to him about it Wednesday at 10:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic and Ken. We're on 9 to 11 every Monday through Friday on News Talk STL. Kenny, how are you?
I'm good.
You know, you got to be some kind of weirdo to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do radio.
Do, believe me.
And that weirdo is Mike Ferguson in the morning show on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh.
Okay, so I'm checking with everybody as they're coming in, Vic and Ken and Larry and our boss, Jeff, and everybody's coming in. So far, the reports that we're getting here in the county, we're in Maryland Heights, is that roads are fine so far. Now we're expecting that wintry mix to be moving in pretty much any time now. I didn't have time to go look outside, but it is going to affect travel. Matt Chambers from Channel 4 was telling us about that a little bit ago, but so far so good out on the roadways. Oh God. Okay.
Final stretch. You got this.
I'm almost there. Okay. And so the bottom line is that there's a lot less traffic today because apparently all the schools got shut down and there's some businesses. And I guess I kind of understand it, although I think that was a little bit early on the draw to cancel stuff based on any winter weather. But I get people are kind of spooked after that last storm that we had, but this doesn't look like it's going to be that bad.
Yeah, straight up mentioned earlier that he's in W County and just went to Snooks for some stuff. There's almost no traffic, and there's nothing wrong with the weather yet. But the
Yep.
store was empty, and that so maybe people are anticipating for whatever reason.
Yeah, this isn't as Gabe likes to put it. This is not a French toast party storm. Don't load up on your bread and eggs and why people like load up on bread, eggs, and milk. I don't know, but
And then they just sit and rot in your fridge for the next few months.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Of course, if you're buying eggs, you might be buying them as an investment because the value goes up because we've got the shortage, and you can
just hard boil them.
Sell them later on for a lot more money out there. But yeah, so far so good. Now up north of St. Louis, so north of the metro area, we've already received some calls, or at least one call that said that some of the conditions, and it was 61, I think they were reporting on, had some icy conditions up north.
Yes.
But we're looking at some snow accumulation there. Reality is that we're going to start whatever this pattern is going to end up being. We're going to start seeing it about the next 30, 40 minutes. And then it'll go throughout the day, as Matt Chambers was telling us, and then probably be wiped off the roadways within 48 hours.
Yeah, he also mentioned that there's very minimal potential for the actual ice to stick long term. So I mean, it's really just when it snows, drive safe. When it slushes up, just make sure it doesn't build up underneath your tires and mess with your tread. And then after that, just stay warm.
Okay, so had another interesting idea that came up, and I think maybe it was Righty who suggested it on Rumble. We were talking about this left-wing group that's putting up a hotline. If you see ICE, if you see, Customs Border Patrol or immigration, Customs Enforcement, you see any of that in town, they want you to call them and warn them so that they can warn the illegal immigrants that ICE is in town. So essentially, they're setting up a hotline rather, that is going to aid and abet illegal aliens in the St. Louis area. Now, we've already got a number of restaurants, and other businesses, about 30 of them or so that we know of. I think the number is probably higher than that, intentionally closing this week as a means of protest.
Mhm.
We talked about that yesterday, I think.
Yes.
And so now you've got this group that sets up a hotline saying, let us know so that we can go warn illegal aliens and they can avoid detection. Well, that's aiding and abetting criminal activity.
Obviously.
So Righty had an interesting thought, because I made sure I did not put the number out there. I'm not going to help anybody with that.
Mhm.
But then Righty said, well, what if we flood them with calls and basically you tell them that ICE is here everywhere just to mess with them?
Corporal Being says, everyone call and say you have ice in your fridge or freezer. Then I would say, every 7-Eleven, you see those ice machines, call them like, oh,
Yep.
there's ice at 7-Eleven.
There it is. There it is. There's ICE there. And so you could stretch their resources and basically have them chasing their tails, which I have no moral or ethical problem with that whatsoever, given what they're trying to actually to do.
Now, I think it is fun, a fun experiment. It would definitely do a great job to clog their lines from legitimate people that are trying to aid and abet criminals. But from my understanding, with what we've seen, when the George Soros-owned station was doing that, is that what the bad people we actually really want to get, they jump town entirely.
Right.
So that's also why, because people are asking, what's the number? How do we find it? That's also a reason why we don't want to give that out, is just because even if it's just for fun on our end, what ends up happening is that could potentially be enough to tip somebody off to move counties or something like that.
Well, and there were a couple cases. Yeah, there was that radio station. Where was that radio station? It was one of the Soros-owned stations that they actually leaked.
Mm-hmm. Now they're being investigated by the FCC, luckily. So we're done playing these games.
Right. And so that's and then there were some other cases where Tom Homan had said that they were allowing media to come along to basically document and report on the
with Dr. Phil.
Yeah, well, there was Dr. Phil in Chicago, but there was another case. I want to say Colorado, but it may have been somewhere else. And it was they found out that one of the reporters was leaking to the activist groups. And maybe this is the Soros thing, but they were basically taking the inside information that they were given on what's called embargo, and they were using it to warn the criminals that the media was doing that. Listen, always question media. Question us. I mean, if you think I'm doing something sketchy, question me.
Yes.
Without a doubt, you should always question media. every media, whether it's our tribe or not, there should always be a healthy skepticism on this. But at this point right now, the ICE raids and Tom Homan and they're just DHS with Nikki or Kristi Noem. They're basically going to be pushed into a position to where they say, no, we're going to lock media out. We'll tell you after we make the arrests.
Yeah, no, that's, I hate to say, because I'm a big freedom of the press guy, but when you have people doing that, they need to be vetted. Like I said, that's why I think charge them with treason, give them the J6er approach. We're going to put them in and hold them for the next 4 years before they even get a trial, because this is, I mean, how many kids might be with these people that might otherwise be okay, but if they skedaddle, now you have other people in danger. There's just so much that could go wrong with this. You are not helping anybody besides the actual people that should not be. That's traitorous. You are a traitor, and you should be dealt with as such, in my opinion.
I get it. No, I completely get it. And that's one of the things that that made me, that still makes me so frustrating about just media, but also the left when it comes to the illegal aliens and the harboring the criminals. And let's just call it what it is.
Exactly.
And especially they look for the most sympathetic imagery they can, these left-wing churches or whatever who are doing that. And they want to paint the most sympathetic picture instead of saying, there is a purpose for borders.
Mm-hmm.
A nation state has the right to set the standards for who's allowed to be here and who's not. Don't forget, we have the absolute most open and generous immigration system in the world in the United States. We take in more people legally in this country than every other country combined. So we're not talking about xenophobia and locking people out. We're talking about saying we have a right to say yes or no to the people who want to come here.
Yes.
That's all we're talking about.
And ICE will be out in the streets today, so watch out, everybody.
Everybody, everywhere.
Craving gourmet popcorn? Papa Bear Popcorn is your local flavor destination. Fresh kernels from an Edwards Holt farm, popped right here in Chesterfield. Over 70 mouthwatering